Hi, folks. Welcome. I'm Dan McDermott. This is Google Plus Week, an unofficial look at the world's coolest social network. Great to have you with us. And, click. Okay, my first panelist is Alan Furstenberg in New York, who's just back from voluntary efforts to float Staten Island again, I think, or something. I don't know. But
Staten Island
we're not
floating
going to talk
isn't too
about
much
that
of a
again.
problem.
Yeah. So anyway, we're actually in a Google Hangout, and that's how, depending on what version you're watching of the program, you'll see that or not. But it's a great tool for folks to have a multi-user video conference. We have 8 or 9 people in this one right now. Folks can watch it on YouTube. So tell us, Alan, what is new, the new announcement this week.
Yeah, big announcement coming from the Hangout team. They have changed the look and the feel and a lot of the things about how Hangouts, not so much work, because that's all pretty much the same, but a lot of what we're doing with them, how we do that has changed. So for example, and a lot of it particularly focuses around apps and making the app experience inside a Hangout work a little bit better. So for example, the big change, of course, is that chat has moved from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. But in doing that, one of the things that they did, they responded to a lot of user feedback saying that new users who are unfamiliar with Hangouts would join and not realize that there was a whole chat session that went on beyond the video and the audio. So now, by default, the chat window is open when people join in. If you close it, it'll stay closed until you reopen it. One of the great features, though, is that if you do close it, there is a little notice on the chat notification. Will tell you how many messages there are in chat that you're not seeing, and that's in a nice red box, which is somewhat reminiscent of your notification box on Google+, but it's a lot more visible. It stands out a lot more than it used to. In fact, the entire way that apps are currently set up and working makes things a lot more visible, a lot more transparent. So it's easier to see what apps other people are running. It's easier to start using them yourself. It's now easier to close them. One of the big requests that people have been asking for is, okay, I've tried this app, I think it's terrible. None of my apps, of course. But now how do I get rid of it? And there wasn't a way to do so before. Now they've added a way to do that. So there's a lot of nice features. They've been listening to people, and they've responded. And this is one of the clearest examples we have so far of just how they've responded to those kinds of requests. So it's great to see. If you haven't tried Hangouts before, go try them. If you haven't tried them in the past week, go take a look, because I think you'll be pleased at the new user interface.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to ask Craig and Bruce if what they think of this, but I just want to tell folks real quick, if you're watching on YouTube and you don't see an ability to comment, there is an issue. So what you can do is go to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/McDermott Report, McDermott, and you will see an ability to comment and tell us what you think. And we're watching those live. So let me go, let me go to Bruce. Have you tried the new interface? What do you think?
Yes, I have. I'm actually looking at it right now, and it was, it takes a little, it's kind of like driving a car. I remember when I first got my Saturn Ion, when you had the instrument cluster move from the, traditional place behind the steering wheel over to the center, it took a while to get used to that. And, there's a little bit of an adjustment getting used to the right side chat and everything, but I like it. I think it looks cleaner for me. When you have a full Hangout like we have right now, the thumbnails on the bottom are a little bit smaller, but I think that's okay. I like it the way that you can collapse the icons on the left and take away the text description. Gives you a little more room for the main video. So I like it.
Craig, have you been playing with this? I know you did a Hangout just this morning.
We used it during the show this morning, the Frederick Week show, and I like it, but I would have reversed the chat with the buttons. The program buttons, because we use the chat much more often, and to me the left side is the prime real estate, so I would have left the chat over there and just put the buttons on the other side.
Well, I think part of the reason why the buttons are where they are is to make it consistent with the rest of the Google Plus interface. I mean, if you look at your main Google Plus window, your buttons are on the left, your chat is on the right. Inside a Hangout, your buttons are on the left, your chat is on the right.
Because you definitely want the picture of the
Inside
main person
Gmail, your
in the
buttons
middle.
are on the left, chat's on the left too.
But you definitely, because you got to put
But
the
they're
picture in the
they're
center,
trying to
right?
make it the user experience more unified throughout all the platforms there. So yeah, they're doing a good job.
You also, Alan, mentioned that we can remove the apps, but then when you come back in the next time, they're back there again. So I mean, there's no option, for example, for me to remove the lower third app, which I no longer use.
That's actually a bug. We discussed this with them yesterday, and
so that
pointed
wasn't
that out
intentional.
to them. And it was not intentional. It's supposed to be, if you remove an app, it should be gone.
Right. There's that other neat feature when you hover over an app, the people that are using it are brightened and everyone else is dimmed out, so you can see who's using what app in the Hangout, which is nice.
Right.
Okay. Let's talk about another neat thing. The Google Drive is more integrated. This is really cool, and it's a shame Harold Carey's not here because he's been playing with this a lot. But Alan, tell us what this means and what the practical application is.
This is a great thing. I mean, we've always been able to do things like share photos from Google Drive to Google Plus, and now they're extending that to more media types. So, for example, a presentation that you have in Google Drive that you share to Google Plus, share to a circle in Google Plus, for example, now shows up directly embedded in the stream. So we're seeing more and more things are becoming part of a Google Plus almost native experience, a native sharing. And this is one of the things we've talked about a lot over time, that it used to, when we started out, it was you could share text and video and pictures. And now here's Google saying, hey, with the integration with Google Drive, you're going to be able to share a lot more things. They're starting with the presentations. Eventually, we're going to see docs better integrated and spreadsheets better integrated. One of the things I've been talking about for over a year now, everyone's been saying, oh, we need a good way to do surveys inside Google+, just like some other unnamed social media sites have. And I said, no, we don't need that. What we need is a good way to share Google Docs, because Google Docs have surveys in them already.
Now, is that integration there? Because I did a survey today, and I asked folks a question, and I told them to plus one a comment. Can you? I didn't test that, but can you put with a form?
Those are the passe ways of doing things. That's old. That's history. What we're heading for is a Google Doc. I forget, a form, what they call a Google Doc form. We're heading in the direction where you're going to be able to embed a Google Doc form in your stream when you share it. And then people will be able to use that form, and those results are just going to show up in a spreadsheet that you'll have access to. And when you're ready, you'll share that spreadsheet. Yes, Michael.
Alan, it's Mike. How does this relate to what you think is Google Moderator, which already really is built for this surveying capability?
Well, and it's funny you mention that, because we used a little bit of Google Moderator last week as part of the show, as you might remember. I think Google Moderator is more aimed at trying to create weighted questions, which is good for what it is, but I don't think it's a good way to run a poll.
One thing I've been using the docs and the forms for years is my guest book on my Google site. People can go and they can click, and then they fill out a form, to sign my guest book, in effect. And I also use it for my contact form. They fill it out and they hit the button, and it just sends it into a spreadsheet for me. And then
it automatically gives you their email, doesn't it?
I don't know about that. That's a good question. I have certain forms I'm having them fill out, and I know email's one of them, and they always fill it out. So I don't know. I don't think it automatically captures that. I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe you can set them up so they can, but mine I set up years ago, so I mean they're probably antiquated by now, but they still work. I mean, I haven't had to change anything.
Right.
And they just fill it out, and they hit the button, and it puts it right into a spreadsheet for me, and I get an email. I set up email notifications, so I get a notification when they've done that.
So I've been working with both of these now. I worked some months ago with the Google spreadsheet and the form capability, and it was really, for me, it was more of a solution looking for a problem at that time, because I didn't really have any application I needed it for. I just wanted to understand how it worked in some detail. And I thought in the experience I had, I could capture, when someone filled out the form and sent it in, it gave me their email address with it in the record in the spreadsheet. Now in Moderator, that's not what happens. You get an entry that shows whatever they gave themselves as a nickname when they created their account to sign into Moderator. So you don't get any really identifying information about the respondent, which is not terribly helpful in many ways. But one thing, Alan, I wanted to add that Moderator does that I don't see yet in Google Docs is the ability to share into Facebook and Twitter. So the Moderator surveys that I've built, I'm trying to capture a large audience that already exists in Facebook and have them do things in Google+.
Right. I'll be honest. I thought Docs had a way to share to Facebook, but I will be honest that I may be misremembering. Certainly, what Docs lets you do now is it lets you it can give you a URL that you can share, and that's certainly a way to share it with other more primitive means.
Right. You mean sharing the form, for an example, for them to fill out. You share the URL of the form.
Or the doc or whatever, yes.
Okay. And that's true. I didn't have the ability to do that at all until today when I finally got my IT administrator in Google Apps to realize there was a setting he could check that allowed me to do that.
Well, that's interesting.
So just today I got it enabled and I haven't tried to use it yet. I do see that it's possible now.
Okay.
And I'm a much happier.
Let me just note once again for folks watching, if there are problems on YouTube with commenting, but if you go to my channel, which is YouTube, youtube.com/McDermott Report, it's on the screen in the Hangout and the other version. You can comment and see comments there. So, but I think the standalone's not working, Alan. I'm using the standalone, and I haven't seen anything since I put the comment tracker in. Are you getting comments beyond that?
I'm taking a look there. Mine is updating. You may want to reload the page and see if it just got stuck or something.
Okay.
But mine is reloading there.
All right. And then, okay.
Things are showing up a little weird, but it is reloading.
Okay. So let's talk about Gmail has a new Compose.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm thrilled about that. What do you think, Alan?
Well, first, let me point out we had this comment from Diana. So is the Gmail chat going to be on the right as well? And it's an interesting question, and it actually ties in a little bit with this subject. One of the changes they're rolling out to Gmail right now is that the entire compose and response user interface has changed, or is changing. We're in a preview mode right now. If you go to compose a message, it now pops up something that sort of kind of works or acts a little bit vaguely like a Google Chat message box. And I believe Bruce is showing it on the screen right now. If Dan, we want to cut over to Bruce while I talk. Why don't we take a look at Bruce while I talk? And what this, what pops up there is basically a way for you to, a kind of smaller way for you to compose your message. A fairly compact way to enter in the recipients, compact way to enter the subject, the body of your message, and all of the controls that you may want to use are now kind of tucked off to the side unless you actually use them. So they're trying to take up less space when you're composing a message and focus on the message itself without taking away any of the features. And not all of the features are working yet. So for example, you used to be able to label a message before you send it. That's not currently available, but it's listed as coming soon. So we're still in a very early preview mode here. But here's a way where they're trying something new. The biggest advantage of this is that while you can have this open, at the same time as you go look at other messages. So for example, if you need to reference another email while you're drafting your message, it's now a lot easier to do.
Can you do that, Bruce, to demo? Open one up. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I ask you about one bug that I found earlier right away on this? Bruce, can you open up your notifications? Get rid of your compose box real quick. Just get rid of that for now, and just open up your notifications on the right, upper right. Pull your notifications down. Mm-hmm. So that window's open. Okay, now go ahead and click on your compose again to compose an email message.
It's behind it.
Yeah. It should show up behind it, right?
It shouldn't. It should show up on top of it.
Well, that depends on your perspective.
How am I going to write the message if it's behind it?
I agree.
Notification box.
This is exactly how it should be. If I've got my messages dropped down, I'm wanting to read messages and comment on one. Like if I wanted to comment, this is not where I'm working. This is where I'm working when I have that down. So, I think it's...
If you want to write an email, You just click compose, you want to write an email, right?
Right. Well, why would you go up here and click notifications then? That'd be dumb.
No, what I'm saying is it should trump the notifications. You've got the notifications open. Oh, but all of a sudden I decide I want to write an email message. You click on compose and it's behind the window. It should trump. It's a newer thing.
But how do you...
I disagree, Craig. Craig, I disagree. I think what they're saying is this is a consistent way to approach things. Notifications is always on top. If you think of it in terms of specific layering, there is a consistent layering, as opposed to, wait a minute, is which window is going to be on top? Does it matter in the order that you own it?
How do you bring the other one to the front then? What do you do?
Close your notifications.
Well, then that adds another step. Do we have any efficiency experts at all in the Hangout?
I think it turns into a question of
why do we want extra steps? Why do we want extra steps?
Craig, this is efficiency versus consistency, and this is Google being consistent, which is radical for them.
I think that Craig has a certain point, but I think he's off base at the same time. I kind of feel like if you, like, the notification should always be on top, like you're saying, Alan.
How am I going to write these messages?
But if you open...
How difficult is this, Craig?
How am I going to write the message if it's on top of it? Come on.
Craig,
you're all pulling my leg. You've got to be joking.
Anthony finish.
Actually, I'm actually going to kind of agree with...
Wait. Let me
be joking.
Let me in here.
Let Anthony finish.
Okay.
So the notification bar should always be on top, like Alan is saying. But I feel if the compose button is pressed while the notification window is open,
yes,
I'm feeling like the notification bar should close.
Why? That's adding another step.
And then I think
it's not adding another step. It's
yes,
I
think when you click my email, I got to reopen it again.
No. When you click on it on a window, that should bring it to the forward. Yes. And then you have the ability to go back and forth between it in case you want to cut and paste and put it into something from one window into the next, that you would want to highlight it, and that's how it eventually should probably work.
But Alan's making the point that everything should stay consistent, and this way everything is staying consistent.
But if you have the notification window, it should always be on top.
If you open the notification bar and it's on top, and then you open the compose, then it's on top, or then you open the compose first and it's on top, and then you open the notification, and then that goes on top. You have no consistency.
We got a lot of extra work we got to do, guys. I'm sorry. You're getting a lot of extra work.
I think that's the bottom line. Craig, you don't have that much work to do, guys.
Craig, this is not a lot of extra work.
We can't hear you, Dan.
Dan,
you're coming through like a church mouse.
I was saying this is unusual because Google's normally so intuitive.
Yeah. I can tell you when on my system, when I hit the go back to the compose window, it automatically closes the notification.
Can you share your screen and show us?
Sure. Hold on. It's on my second monitor. Here we go.
Of course,
here it is.
This is a Hangout.
Now, just so you'll know, Craig, you'll like this. If you click the compose button twice, it'll open up another message box, and it'll be to the left.
And then you got to close the other one.
And you can see the notifications at the same time. That's called the Craig Ship feature.
But then you still got to close the other window behind it.
No, I click on the notification, the compose, and there it goes away. Right there it is. I click on it, it goes away.
I think this is one of the we're agreeing
Wait,
to
you
disagree.
clicked on what?
Here's notifications up, right?
Yeah.
I click on the compose window below it. It went away.
I've obviously been spamming you.
If you click on the compose window below it, as opposed to the compose button,
So you lost your notifications.
Yes, I did.
which is the normal thing to do. This is entirely consistent. This is entirely consistent with how the rest of Google and the notification box works.
And you guys wonder why iOS is so popular?
But
Craig, in a
this
few
is what
weeks
say-
you'll get
Give
it.
me a break.
But say, for example, you want to do a cut and paste from a notification.
You want to talk about the inconsistencies in iOS? We can talk about the inconsistencies in iOS.
Can we not?
This is too much.
Okay,
I'd
so
rather we not.
Craig,
It sounds like
we
in
all
a
agree.
few weeks you'll get it, Craig.
We all agree
Yeah.
it's perfect.
Okay, so we all agree this is awesome. I'll be honest, I don't understand it. I'm not a fan, but I'll figure just because I haven't figured it out yet. We have an exciting comment from Alan, and once again, as we go to it, if you want to comment, please you can go to my YouTube channel because they're having issues with commenting. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/McDermott Report, and or click the name under the thing you're watching, or you can comment on Google Plus on any of the posts. Let's go to Alan. What do you got there?
We got from Diana, right, consistency. No one wants unstirred flour in their pancake batter.
Tell Diana I'll eat her pancakes any day.
You can tell her yourself.
I think I just did.
Maybe we have from Margie, at least you can switch back to the old compose. That's good.
There you go.
Well, no, wait a minute now. If the new one is so great, why would anybody want to switch back? I don't understand.
Because you're inherently flawed.
Because there's
And
people like
finally,
you,
we have
Craig,
this
who will
comment
complain.
from Kevin Bryan, maybe we have this comment from Kevin Bryan. Plus 100 on merging chat and messenger. As he agrees with Margie, who says something in a message that I can't find at the moment. I apologize.
Is Google going to get rid of the old style, or are they going to keep the choice?
They'll probably get rid of the old one eventually. From Kevin, I like having notifications covering the compose window in Gmail. Notifications should always be on top of everything else. Plus 1 on the consistency.
How is he going to type in the compose window in that event?
From Margie, I don't like the new compose message. It's in the way. I don't like it at all. It gets in the way of my other extensions in Gmail. The other extensions will have to adapt.
I don't understand that, because isn't the point to get out of the way of the other extensions?
So,
Well,
Craig,
I don't know what the other extensions are doing. And finally, we have this one from Kyle. Can you drag the compose message over? This is actually
you cannot.
This is a good question. It's an interesting question. You can't drag it over, but what you can do is pop it out into its own window. And once it's in its own window, you can move it around however you want.
How do you do that?
So,
It's the same way you do it in Google Chat. There's an arrow that points up into the
Craig,
right.
I switched back to the old compose method. I've got my notification window down.
Okay.
And now I'm going to click on the old compose. And so this is what you like. You like to be able to type here and still be able to see your notification. Is that what your point is?
Yeah, sure, exactly. I don't want to lose my notifications just because I'm composing a quick message.
Okay. But as soon as I start typing, the notifications went away. Did you notice that?
Well, that's okay. At least I can
Craig.
finish my typing.
So speaking of consistency, Craig is being inconsistent here.
That's
you.
right.
Well, obviously, if I click on compose, obviously the important thing that I want to be able to do is compose my message. That trumps the other thing, is my point. Otherwise, I wouldn't have clicked compose.
Alan, may I add something here?
Go for it, Michael.
On the notifications, though, I get a lot of struggle with this in this. I hate to say it, but it's similarly bad compared to the other major social network. And what happens when you click the notifications button, it shows it displays the list, and then while you're looking at them, they all turn gray as though you have dealt with every one of them. And that's one problem. The second problem is if you have more than 10 notifications, you only see the first 10, and it doesn't matter how many you got. And if the thing goes away the way Craig described it, when it goes away, all of them get grayed, and the sort order changes completely, and you cannot bring up the same list of notifications again. It's impossible to find.
Now that's an odd one. Have you submitted those problems?
I have the same problem.
The submit problem is a black hole, so I don't do that.
No. Okay. let me submit the problems. You're not going to get a response, but they do read it and they do eventually, usually, act on it. And this is an ongoing conversation about the fact that it does seem like a black hole. But they do read them, they do summarize them, and they do use our input to prioritize changes. I think the changes in the Hangout are evidence of that fact.
Yeah. I'm a 21st century American, though, and I really need some more instant gratification than that.
I understand, but this is Google, and instant gratification is not in their vocabulary, unfortunately.
Right.
Okay, so all right, we all adore the new Compose window, which I have no idea.
Actually, I haven't seen it yet because it doesn't work on Google Apps yet on my account.
Okay, so at 2547, we're going to go to a new help page, and I know Margie was all excited about that. She's got her own that she's been maintaining for quite some time, and does a great job with it. And she's excited that Google is. I can't believe they're just doing this now, Alan. What's the deal?
Oh, I can believe it. It's the same deal as everything else. They're throwing more spaghetti against the wall. They have issues. They have no idea how to fix it. They don't really want to spend any time or effort to fix the inherent problems. So instead, they're going to create a page which isn't going to do diddly squat.
No, I missed it. What are we talking about now?
We're now talking about the brand new official Google Plus help page. And by page, we mean a Google Plus page, not some web page somewhere. This is actually somebody that you can follow, and they promise they're going to give out tips, and they will be responding to people who have problems if you plus mention Google Plus help, and all of these other things that independent people like Margie with Oasis in the Stream and several other people like Dennis Lavelle and several others have tried to do for a while, and now Google has said, oh, gee, maybe that's a good idea because people don't understand how to use Google. So instead of fixing the problems, we're going to create a page which nobody is going to follow. I mean, which will be able to help people out.
Well, it could be, for one thing, they should do it because a lot of companies do this very successfully on Twitter. That you can interact with them and moan and groan, and that's one case where a high clout score helps some of these companies. And so I think it's great if you can plus mention them and they'll respond. I'm guessing it's the community managers, or maybe they've hired some intern or something.
Well, as usual, who knows? Because we don't know what they're doing or how they're doing it, and so far there haven't been any replies at all from them.
Oh, so it's a waste.
In the 2 days that it's been running so far, they've made exactly one post, and as far as I know, they've replied to nobody.
So everyone should make up some crazy issue and plus mention. Just kidding. To see.
I think it's a well-intentioned idea, and I think again, it boils down to they don't know how to fix their inherent problems, so they're going to try this instead.
Maybe their Staten Island office was running it, and so it'll be a few days.
Well, their Manhattan office is closed, and it is closed indefinitely.
Okay, so if you need Google Plus help,
I got an email back from somebody in that office today.
Say again, Michael.
I got an email back from someone in that office today.
Well, chances are good they're not actually in the office.
Yeah, he's probably working from home.
Okay. I see, Alan, the playground is washed out, but we still learn about new toys via blog. What's the deal there?
Last week on this show, as everyone I'm sure remembers, we were talking about how there was going to be this big event in New York City on Monday advertising the playground is open, and we were speculating exactly what we were going to learn. We were going to find out what the new products were and what the new features were and all of this exciting stuff. And Google canceled the event because as Craig would put it, they were entirely speculating that of all of the hype that was going on. And
yeah, they were misinformed about the meteorology.
So they canceled the event. But to everyone's surprise, they announced all of the products instead on their blog. I speculated at the time that it was somebody forgot to turn off the automatic blog, the automatic blogger posting. And they ran with it instead. But we learned that, yes, indeed, there was now a Nexus 4 phone, and there was a new Nexus 10 tablet. And as everyone predicted, the Nexus 7 got a price drop and a memory upgrade and a Wi-Fi upgrade.
So I'll tell you why they didn't hold the event, why they didn't just relocate it somewhere else and just hold it somewhere else, is they don't do events very well. If you recall, a lot of their events, usually they're demonstrations, there's always a lot of fails. And
that's part of it, but it's also interesting. Part of the reason why they didn't move it is because all of their Nexus 4s were in New York. And in fact, they're still in New York. And in fact,
they've never heard about like putting them in a car and driving them somewhere.
Well, they were a little busy.
They had many days of notice that this storm was coming, right? They had plenty of time.
But we had this discussion already, Craig. That was all hype.
Have you ever put on a major event? It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of coordination. Have event coordinators.
To put some of those things in a car and drive them somewhere?
It doesn't work like that, buddy. You got to have the space available.
The people in New York were a little busy.
Yeah.
To deal with to deal with that. But some of the reviewers did get their hands on Nexus 4s. They were essentially handing them out to reviewers if they could get to Manhattan on Monday or Tuesday.
The Verge got them.
Well, the Verge and like the Engadgets and maybe a few other major companies get to see these devices and get told that they can't release the information until Monday.
NDAs, yeah.
Yeah, non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah, but part of it was they did have a bunch of Nexus 4s in New York on Monday.
The Microsoft announcement did happen because that was the whole point of this, right? It was to be on the same day as the Windows 8 or the new Windows Phone. And so once they canceled it, there was really no point in having a New York event.
Yeah, but nobody paid much attention to the Windows Phone event.
Sucks when you have an event and there's a hurricane.
Nobody would have paid very much attention to the Google one either. So they came off actually better. They get a lot of sympathy for this, and they probably ended up with some better reviews. So it probably worked out good for them.
I think we should send Craig to New York City and see how he deals with that situation.
Most of New York City is fine.
Right.
3237. Okay.
Probably 80% of it. Probably 80% of it is fine.
Interesting
Have
article.
you seen the subways?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
That's why that stock market was closed for Tuesdays. First time in history.
Interesting article that over half, or now Android, a year ago, third quarter 1 year ago, 57.5 phones were sold. Smartphones were Android, and now it's up to 75%. Craig not among them.
Not yet. I'm on the fence.
So this is just really something to note that Apple
No pun intended.
Neck and neck with some of these Samsung phones, the S3 and of course the Note, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. And I know Michael, we could talk about this now, I guess. There's not a whole lot to say except because I know Bruce is getting ready to get the Note 2, which I have. Bruce, you're getting ready to get it, and you're selling your. I'm trying to find Bruce so I can blue box him in here. You're selling to Gazelle. Show us the box.
Yeah, I got my Gazelle box all ready to put the iPhone in it. Yeah.
Now that's worth what, about $12, right? $13.
$135.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I would have guessed 12 or 13.
Now, if you get an Amazon gift card, you'll get extra money.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you use Amazon?
I do, but I chose the PayPal route.
So the Note is it's a beautiful phone. It sold, as I said, 3 million in 1 month, and that was before the Sprint. They just got it a few days ago, about a week ago. It's basically a big S3. Okay,
it's huge.
It's huge. It's 5.5 inches. I'll put it up next to my beautiful Nexus 7.
What version of Android is it running?
It's got 4.1, and it's very close to regular Jelly Bean, but It's got enhancements. I don't consider it a fork as much as enhancements to accommodate the stylus. Things like at any point you have the keyboard, you can type. You could also switch and you can handwrite it, and it converts that to letters. And the OCR is pretty good. So it's just gimmicky and neat. You can, if you take a picture, you can use your stylus to write, WTF, lol, or whatever kids do. Okay, so here's the Nexus 7, and we'll compare the screen size. It's big. This is a phone.
Is.
That's a big phone.
So Dan,
it's about an inch.
That in your shirt pocket?
Oh yeah, this fits in my pocket.
In your shirt pocket?
Yeah, sure. Why not? But it'll fit in my back pocket or my jacket. It's only about an inch taller and about a half an inch wider than the S2. And I don't know how big the S3 is. The resolution is exactly the same. But it's got this stylus built in, so like an old Palm Treo, right? And you can write stuff. It's fast. It's fast. It's much faster than my Nexus 7, which is very fast.
See, that's kind of important, I guess, compared to the Evo.
It's got a touch-sensitive thing, and so if you press harder, it knows you've pressed harder, and it's smart. I guess it's got power in it because it's got a button and it does stuff. You can kind of hover it over here. I haven't really figured it out yet. I'm not sure how much of this is a toy or a practical application thing, but
looks like something to lose.
The speakers are incredible. I mean, great. You can actually hear it. You could be in the car with the air conditioning and the window down, you could hear it. The Nexus 7, I love it, but the speaker's horrific. Just awful. And useless.
Now, Dan, that stylus, Leo was talking about how if you leave it and you walk away with the phone, eventually you'll get a beep warning you that you forgot it. Have you tested that? Does that work?
No, I'm not. But that's interesting. So it'll warn you.
I don't know if that's something you have to turn on or if it's by default. Yeah, it should warn you that you left it behind if you get far enough away from it. Like
in some stores, the bathroom key, they'll put one of the security things on the bathroom key so you can't accidentally leave. And they can't get in the commode. But it's a great phone. It's Jelly Bean. It's got Google Now. It's got all the cool stuff. There isn't that much difference between 4.1 and 4.2. And we got a comment from somebody here. Let's go to Alan.
Yeah, we've got a couple of comments that I wanted to bring in. Kyle says, the Nexus 4 will matter when it gets LTE, and I know we're going to have a fight about this one. Until then, I couldn't care less. So let's talk LTE and why it isn't there.
You know what? I am buying a Nexus 4 as soon as I can buy one.
Tell us why, Anthony.
LTE is not a huge deal to me, and I'll tell you why. I have the Evo 4G. Which means that I have 4G. I've had it since day one. I mean, when that phone came out, it had it in my market. It's a battery hog. So I don't use 4G. It's just not worth it. And first of all, it takes forever to turn it on. So it's not worth, between the battery and taking forever to turn on, it's not worth having on. And it's not worth turning on because by the time that it actually activates, it's like half an hour later.
Dan, have you found the battery to be an issue on the Note 2?
No, officially it's twice as big as the S3. It's a 3,100 milliamps per hour. Whatever, is that right? The S3 is 2,100. The official, of course, that never really works. But officially, the talk time is 15 hours compared to like 9 or 10. And but
of course, you haven't tried it in LTE for any length of time, so we don't know what that's going to do.
Correct, but I did see one video where a guy looped a 720p video just to test it. It was actually reviewing different batteries, and it went 6.7 hours with video running.
Wow.
So it's not a problem.
The battery problem might have been solved, Anthony. Maybe they've solved that problem.
Well, I mean, no matter what, you can have a battery life of 6 days, right? But the LTE is still going to eat more battery life than just 3G.
Yeah,
Right.
but if it's not an issue in your day-to-day use, I mean, most of us charge our phones at night when we sleep anyway, and so
Yeah,
if
but
you
most
can
of
get
us
all
also
day,
aren't in LTE areas anyway.
I'm in
phone-
I'm in an LTE area. I have a Razer Max, and it works spectacular. So
no battery issues.
no battery issues. In fact, I charge charge my phone once every 2 days.
The thing is, if you have good reception, like if you have solid reception, you're going to get better battery life because it's not searching for that
Right.
For that signal. Where I am, I get just about no. I mean, Sprint's not good in my area for reception in general. But when I'm at work, I get like 1 bar. It's probably would be half a bar if it could display half a bar. So my battery just gets crushed when I'm at work. I was at work at 4 o'clock tonight until 8 o'clock. And in those 4 hours that I was there, I ate up 85% of my battery. So, I mean,
Dan-
it's everything, this battery issue is all relative.
Yeah.
If you're using LTE, what your reception is, I mean, it's all relative.
So if Dan has his LTE radio on, do you have your LTE radio turned on, Dan, in your phone?
I do, but does it eat up? Is it like Wi-Fi, where even if you weren't doing something, it's eating it up, or
Yeah,
only?
that's the question I have. Is it going to be searching, Anthony, continually searching for an LTE signal if he's got that turned on?
Yeah, and that's the issue with LTE is when it's on, and like I said, in general with any cell signal, whether it's 2G, 3G, or 4G, when it's searching for that signal, if it's not getting it, it's going to degrade the battery life, and when it is receiving a perfect signal, it's to some extent going to be degrading the battery life.
So-
And 4G takes up. I mean, if you're getting the same signal strength, 4G is eating up more battery life than 3G is.
So Dan, what has been your experience? You've had the radio on. Obviously, it's been searching for LTE because you don't have LTE where you are, right?
Correct. It's.
What's been your experience with battery life?
I mean, all day, half.
So
Incredibly.
it sounds like it's a non-issue now.
It's
Anthony.
not an issue. And also on Amazon, they sell. I saw a kit. It's got 2 batteries, 3100, very highly rated kit, or at least all their other ones are very highly rated, like lots of stars, 75 reviews. A charger and 2 batteries, the same as the OEM as far as specs, for $25. So.
Wow.
But it sounds like you're not even going to need them.
Correct.
No, Dan,
but if you
do
were like
you
a
remember-
salesperson, or if when a hurricane was coming or something, it would be nice, to be able to have that.
Do you remember what the size of the battery is on the
3,100 milliamps
that's
per hour.
a massive battery.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
The
see, that's
S3
what-
was good, and the S3 is 2,100. Now that's not a net gain of 50% because it's got a larger screen. It's got the exact same dimensions. It's 1280 by 720. It's true 720p, but it's just blown up a little bit. So
Actually,
it's,
Craig, I want to skip to a subject that I think is relevant. Craig, it sounds like you're saying that they should have produced an LTE version.
Well, I was just trying to get to the bottom of this battery life thing because I hear a lot of talk about the battery life thing, and it sounds like to me like with these newer phones, they've put big enough batteries in them that they can handle it and that it's not an issue anymore. So that's all I was trying to get to the bottom of.
Okay, we have this comment from Chad, which I can't seem to bring up. When an LTE phone is not on an LTE network, it burns battery searching for a connection. Not so bad when on the network as when searching, as your 3G radio isn't active at the same time, as is the case when
That
searching for a 4G.
Depends
and
on
both radios are
carrier, right? Because some carriers are using 4G for the voice and for the data, and some are just using it for data. And then some, the ones that are using it just for data are using 3G for voice. So if you're going to get a phone call, 3G has to be being used.
Well, clearly, though, Dan is in one of the worst case scenarios. He's got clearly no LTE coverage where he is. He's got the radio turned on. It's been searching for a signal the whole time he's had the thing. And so he said
Okay,
even under those circumstances, he's okay.
I don't want to beat the battery life issue to death. I'm just trying to get, Craig, what is your sense on whether they should have gone LTE or not?
Well, absolutely they should have gone LTE. I mean,
Why?
Because that's the future. Why
Okay,
would I want to buy a phone?
Now, Craig, last week, you on this show, you stated that Google shouldn't be kowtowing to the carriers, and
That's
they should
right.
be smacking around the carriers. Is that right?
That's right. That's
That's
correct.
exactly what Google did with this phone.
The
But
other
see,
thing,
Google can't do it by themselves. They need the Samsung, Google. They need all let's say the 4 top manufacturers need to get together and need to say, we are going to make the best possible phones because we're competing against Apple. This is what I said last week. We're competing against Apple. So we've got to make the best possible phones we can make. And if that's a pure Android experience, if most people are going to like that, then that's what we're going to make. There'll be LTE. There'll be the best possible phone that we can make. And we are going to tell the carriers that they are going to sell the phone.
you see, that's exactly what Google is doing right now. And the thing
They're
is,
not, no, they're not.
no,
They're
well,
not.
wait. Yes, it is.
Let
It
him
is
finish.
because if you want to get a phone on Verizon's 4G network, which is ridiculous, and net neutrality is ridiculous, but we'll skip past that. If you want to get a phone on Verizon's LTE network, you have to agree to the terms. And one of the terms, yes, this is a fact. If you want to get on Verizon's LTE network, you have to agree to the terms. And one of the terms is that they control the software. They have to agree.
No, Apple's selling an LTE phone right now on their network.
That's because Apple dictates to Verizon. Because
That's
Apple,
what I'm saying that Google and their
that's
partners
what-
should
that-
do.
That's
Well,
what-
and that's exactly what Google did.
Is
No, they
trying to
didn't.
get to. That's what Google's trying to get to, and by doing this the way that they're doing it, it is the best way that they feel that they
compromised,
can.
Anthony. They compromised.
Craig,
They did
Good
compromise, but they
compromise.
compromised.
Craig, here's what happened. For the Galaxy Nexus, they said we're going to release an LTE phone, and Verizon said, "Fine, you agree, you do it under our terms." And Google said, "No, we're going to do it under our terms." And Verizon said, "Fine, that you're not releasing an LTE phone." So Google, so we had both of them standing their ground, and last time Google caved, and we got a really crappy phone.
The
Oh,
other,
well,
But they caved this time too.
No,
No,
this
they
time they
didn't.
didn't cave. Verizon said, "You're going to do what we tell you to do," and Google said, "The hell we are. We're going to do what we want to do."
The other thing to keep in mind, and depending on your description of 4G, I don't agree with this description, but a lot of people do, and the official governing body agrees with this description of 4G. There is a 4G frequencies on the Nexus 4 because HSPA Plus is considered 4G speeds on AT&T. So depending on how you want to define 4G, officially it's defined as such. There is
I was using
a
the
4G
term
phone.
LTE. I wasn't using the term 4G. I was saying
LTE
LTE.
is a technology.
That's right.
WiMAX is a technology. HSPA Plus is a technology.
That's
Depending on how you're going to define the speeds that make 4G 4G, all of those are potentially 4G technologies.
But the point is, LTE is the future, and LTE is the best of all that you mentioned. And so, therefore, the phones should support LTE. Period.
But
Craig, the thing is that
every
let me weigh in on this real quick.
You have HSPA Plus.
Let me
Every
weigh in on
major
this real
market
quick.
has that.
The problem is Google, all the carriers, even the iPhone, there's certain things that the carriers dictate. For example, every Sprint phone is required to have a shutter noise when you take a photograph. And there are some counties in the United States where it's illegal to not have a shutter sound. Obviously, it's so you can't be in the gym and someone's taking your picture in the shower room or something, or any number of situations. So also you have to have the Sprint zone. You have to ban from play the mobile hotspot apps like Fox-Fi, which lets you bypass Sprint and which has unlimited data. And that's the beauty of this Note. And you guys know I love Android. You know I love Jelly Bean, and I have pure Jelly Bean, the brand new one on the Nexus 7, so I know what that's like. There's absolutely no compromise. This is actually, I prefer the Jelly Bean 4.1 with the enhancements. It's not a fork. It's not a compromise. It's enhanced Jelly Bean. There's some quirks, like on the Nexus 7, you just swipe up to get Google Now and your voice search. On this one, you swipe and you get a little menu and you hit Google search. Because they've added things, and I don't feel that I'm missing anything at all. There's no compromise. It's awesome.
But Dan, that's this moment. What about a year and a half from now when new versions have come out and Samsung or your carrier refuses to give you the newest version, and you're sitting there?
But they have a great relationship with Samsung, and they're
so you're hoping
they're getting stuff fairly quickly. There is a delay, clearly, but that's the price you pay. It's brand new for a while, just like a computer. Go ahead, Alan.
Well, I think one of the changes that came with Jelly Bean, and this is actually important. I realize it's a little technical, but it's important that the way they're packaging things now makes it easier for vendors to make changes and to release updates with those changes in later versions. It was basically the Android development kit has been restructured, and once developers change how they're doing things to use Google's new restructuring, it's supposed to be easier for them to make changes going forward. And we'll see. I mean, I think the proof will be in the pudding. That's actually how the phrase goes. Anyway, the proof will be when we actually see vendors coming out with this. When we see Motorola, for example, actually releasing 4.1 and then 4.2, hopefully in rapid succession, then we'll actually believe it. But we'll see what reality transpires. But it's supposed to be easier. We're supposed to see that moving forward.
Do you think that this promised 18 updates within 18 months of the phone is going to start playing out the way that they promised in the past?
I think it is to Google's advantage to push Motorola to do so. And once Motorola starts doing so, that we will start seeing the other vendors adopting the same thing.
Because under Google's control, Motorola actually skipped out on that promise. Now, they did offer $100 gift cards.
Yes.
Because they skipped out on that, which, I mean, you can weigh that however you want to weigh that. But
well,
so
basically,
that's interesting.
Basically, what they've said is, here's what we promised, and if we're not meeting the promise, we're essentially going to let you get our new phone for free. I mean, it's no coincidence that the Droid Razr Max or whatever that is a $100 phone, and they're giving $100 credit. There's no coincidence there at all.
And also, as people are learning about what Google Now and all the iOS guys are getting this Siri thing we're going to talk about that in a bit. People are starting to get upset that have people who have Gingerbread, and we talk about that as well. But that's a thing. People are getting upset about that, and the carriers are going to want to push these things out quicker. My Motorola Photon is still on Gingerbread. It's almost 2013. They promised it in June, ICS, and that never happened. It's ridiculous. You have comments, Alan?
We had another comment that was changing topics. If we're done with this one.
Okay. Let me just say one quick thing. It's just that what people change phones every 2 years. They usually tend what takes place is when their plan's up, they get the latest and greatest anyways. So 18 months in that turnaround is really not that big of a whoopee because people usually in 2 years upgrade their phone.
Well, it's one update before your phone hits end of life and before you exit that 2 year, because obviously 2 years is 24 months, so that's a relative amount of time between.
Aren't the software
the
updates more frequently than every 2 years? Doesn't Android update more often
it's
than
like
that?
every 12 months. I think they're trying to hit it right now.
Okay, let's go to Alan with comments.
No,
you want to talk topic change? I was going to talk about Nexus 10 next. Do you want, or do you,
yes,
what do you have?
That actually is our comment here. We had a comment from Kevin saying, "Hey, there's no 3G or 4G Nexus 10." So let's move on to the Nexus 10.
I have not seen it. I'll tell you, I read a review and I've got the review, I think, in The Verge. They said it's awesome. They weren't as kind to the Nexus 4 because the reviewer, it fell off the table. I guess it was a free copy or, a demo version that they look at and then they return or keep, whatever. But it cracked. When the reviewer cracks the phone, it's always, you got to get a paragraph or two. But I'll say that the Nexus 10, they gave glowing reports from. They said it was wonderful, and it's beautiful, and if it's it's everything my Nexus 7, mine and Alan's is, but bigger and badder. It's a great tablet, and it's what was it? $399 or $499, Alan?
The which one? What?
The Nexus
It's-
10. It's $400 and $500, right?
No, it's $399 for 16 gigs, $499 for 32.
If you were talking about the Verge report, which the Verge was the guy that dropped it off the table, I mean, he panned the Android tablets. He basically said that they're a non-starter.
The phone. The Verge had a very good review. They said, finally, an Android tablet I can be excited about. But the phone they panned. The Nexus 4
You
is
didn't
what
listen
they
to the
panned.
same podcast I did then.
I'm reading the links in the notes, which you obviously haven't looked at.
Okay, I listened to the podcast, and they panned it.
I just read it just now, and yes, it is very complimentary.
But not the phone one. But she dropped the phone and it cracked. So and the LTE thing's a
The
big deal.
7-inch, the
For some
7-inch
people.
tablet.
This
they-
isn't a she. This one is by David Pierce. The
The ten-
Nexus 10 review?
Yeah, but the Nexus 4 one is the one that was panned.
Oh, okay.
I think that was a woman.
I thought we were on the Nexus 10.
Yeah, we're switching. Okay, so Alan, you got a comment about the Nexus 10?
I already shared it, Dan. 3G, 4G.
Oh, okay.
No
Wireless,
3G or
that's
4G.
It's still on carrier networks. Why didn't they roll out with it when they did roll out with that for the Nexus 7 at the same time?
Let's ask Jeff. You're in the market, right? Have you ordered one, or is it sitting on your desk, or you're drooling
No,
over
it's not. It's not until November 13th, I believe, that
Okay.
they start to ship them. But yeah, I put my email in for a notification on it, and that's why I returned my Nexus 7. Was hoping for the Nexus 10, and because for my applications, how I want to use it, the 10-inch tablet's where I want to go. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it and trying it out and testing it, and then probably returning it. Who knows?
Yeah, you've returned like I don't know how many tablets. So
Exactly.
you're excited. What do you think about? Because you're actually going to get one of these. You wanted that larger form factor. What are your thoughts about the not having?
3G?
Yeah.
Yeah, not having a cell carrier. That's not how I was going to use it. So I would always tether it with some other device, anyways, or have Wi-Fi available. So for me, how I'm going to use it, it's going to be for how I surf while I'm. Yeah, not surfing, but I'm watching TV if I'm looking something up. If I'm traveling on the road, it's a nice laptop replacement for reading my emails and things like that. So I'll tether it to my phone, which works out perfectly. So that's how I'll handle it.
Bruce, what do you got on your screen there, buddy?
Oh, well, I was just showing the comparison between the Nexus 10, the Nexus 7, and the iPad. This is one of the many pictures that they have on the Verge review. It's quite large. I mean, that's why I'm moving to the solution I think that you've chosen with the Note 2. Just one device. I'm not a two-device sort of person, but I don't need anything that big.
I like the 7, Bruce, because I was in the gym today, and I wanted to read my the last in that young adult fiction series. I forget what it's called, but it's a great series with all these historic figures and William Shakespeare. Nicholas Flamel, great book series. But anyway, I wanted the Nexus 7 because if you're moving around, you're on the machine for half an hour, and I wanted the big screen to read it. But my use of the Nexus 7 has diminished dramatically since I got the Note. Also because the Note's new and
but you're going to find out that
it's a small 4G LTE tablet. You know what I mean? It's the nickname Phablet, which I'm not yet comfortable using because it's silly, but it's accurate. It's a phone tablet hybrid, and I think that's where we're going. I don't think they're done making phones bigger. I think you're going to see bigger phones. Because now I don't have to have a separate plan. I mean,
they have the Pad phone, right, which is a tablet and a phone combined.
Does it have Jelly Bean?
I don't. I'm sure it will eventually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's the main competitor for this, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's an awesome phone. It's a tablet phone. The stylus, I don't know if that's a gimmick. I'll know ask me in a couple weeks. I'll tell you if I use it.
You still got the clumsiness of two devices with this pad phone, though. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I've got this tablet, I've got this phone, and I got to stick the phone in the back of the tablet to get the tablet experience. I really think the larger phones is going to be eventually more popular. At least it is for me. For the way I work, having the one device, not having to decide which device am I going to use to check Facebook or Flipboard or Pinterest or Twitter or whatever.
Well, depending on how you use it, you could get by with something the size of an iPad, full-size iPad, with the phone built into it. If you just used a Bluetooth headset all the time or some kind of a headset for your phone calls, or connected it when you're in your car, just connected it to your car and do hands-free. I mean, you don't really, if you're going to be carrying something all the time anyway, you have your phone built into that one device.
I feel like the pad phone was a good idea until it wasn't.
What was the pad phone?
What nice tautology there.
What was the pad phone?
Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
It's a phone from ASUS, or however you want to say it today. It's a phone that pops into the back of this tablet, which is, as far as I understand it, just basically a display. The tablet is just a display, and then the phone is the powerhouse for the tablet. So I don't know.
Well, see, with these modern tablets, like the new one that they just came out with, the 10-inch, I mean, you wouldn't need that. Would make that obsolete. If you built the phone into that, if the phone was just in that device, then you could have an all-in-one device that you carry with you everywhere you go.
You see, like I said, I think it was a good idea until it wasn't. And I think the bottom line is that ASUS likes to create these new devices, and I think that they hit the nail on the head when they created the tablet that plugs into the dock that is a keyboard. They hit the nail on the head there, and they just missed on the pad tablet, the phone tablet idea, and it was a good idea until it wasn't.
So Dan, if they made a 7-inch version of what you've got right there, the Note, if they made a 7-inch version of it, would you go for it?
I don't think so. I think that's too big. I mean, yo, Craig, what's up, dog? You know what I mean?
But no, you wouldn't use it like that. You'd use a headset.
This works. See, I mean, we're talking, okay, here's the BlackBerry, right? Little tiny screen. And then you got your Motorola Photon, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I was using. And that's Gingerbread in 2012.
If you can hold 4 devices at once.
And then I got two of these actually. But then you got this thing, which is an inch taller and a half an inch wider than the S2. I don't know how big it is. If the S3 is any different.
Oh, that's the Note 7.
That's the Note 2.
Nexus. That's a Note 2 in your hand.
This is a Note 2. Yes, and I'll show you the Note 2. I'm trying to manage 2 different versions, and it's tricky because I don't want to put myself on green next to myself in blue. So I have to keep clicking. This is, and I'll light them both up real quick just so you can see. But this is not happening.
One didn't light. There it is.
Yeah. So it's there's my Kindle I was reading from the gym today, right? But it's about, what is it, about an inch taller.
Yeah.
And the form factor is.
Well, one thing is the one on the right has a lot more bezel to it than the phone.
One on Dan's left.
Which is by design, because you need bezel to hold the device. Like I feel like all the bezel on the Nexus 7 is to hold it. I guess
what I'm saying, Dan, is that let's say you had the 7-inch with the phone built in. That could be almost like your base station. So like everywhere you're going, that's with you. If you're in the car, it's just sitting on the seat, right? And it's connected to your car via Bluetooth. If you're in the gym, it's on the thing where you're working out, and you've got, again, a Bluetooth headset or whatever for if you get a phone call. You see what I mean? It just becomes more like a base station. And with voice command now, I mean, I know with my phone, I'm sure you can do it with yours. You just tap the little button and you say call Joe Schmo, and it just places the call. I mean, you don't need to pick up the phone and dial it or any of that kind of stuff.
I'm going to agree with Jeff, except with Craig, with one exception. I think these devices are horrible base stations, and I think what we're going to see is an incredibly, incredibly small form factor for the base station that you will be able to pair with any number of other devices. So imagine, if you will, something like a small watch, and that watch will be your network connection, your Wi-Fi connection, your cell carriers connection, whatever. And then they'll be able to sell the generic tablet, phablet, mega, maxi pad, mini pad, whatever. They'll be able to sell the real device.
Yeah.
Don't forget about
These
Google
terms.
Glasses. Google Glasses.
but
Right?
Let me show you a quick.
Well, yeah, isn't Google Glasses?
Jeff is
These
right.
terms are
Google
wrong.
Glasses, right? That's where
Yeah,
it's
that could
going
end up
towards.
being a mobile
Exactly, Jeff.
Wi-Fi hotspot. We're all going to get cancer. Okay, let me show
And
you
yes,
guys.
I chose those terms intentionally.
Let me show you one thing here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to boot both of these. It just takes a sec. The Nexus 7, Alan, you'll agree, is very fast. What's faster? You got a Nexus phone at I/O in your goodie bag, and the Nexus 7. Which boots faster for you?
It's gonna be the 7.
I don't know. I never reboot them.
Okay, watch this. This will blow your mind. Here we go. I'm going to turn them both on. They're both Jelly Bean. This is 4.2. This is 4.1. Remember, this one's loading the phone radios. This one's not, right? Here we go.
Hang on. Your Nexus 7 is upgraded to 4.2 already?
I don't think
Yeah. Isn't it? Okay, here we go.
so.
They're
0.1.
booting. They're booting.
They're booting. I'm not entirely sure what.
Let me
the
click
point
on
here is,
myself.
but
Sorry,
okay.
guys. In the green.
You're on the screen. You're on the broadcast.
I'm not on this one here because you guys are talking. It switches. So, all right, this one's already booted. Unbelievable. I'll swipe it open. I'm ready to go. I can make a phone call. Look at the Nexus 7. I mean, my God.
Yeah, I think it's going to be
See,
the Galaxy Nexus.
The reason I say that the tablet has to be your base station, Alan, is you got to have the big battery in that, and the transmitter and the antenna and all that, has to be in something,
But
right?
Craig, when most of that is driving the screen, because remember, it's not just the antenna that the battery needs to power, it's also the screen, and that's a huge, power sucker. So if you split that into a battery of decent life that can power just the antenna and just the wireless connection to your other device, whatever that other device is, you're now splitting your battery and you can get incredibly long life on both of them.
So you're saying you're going to have the LTE transmitter in that other device, so all your devices have to have the transmitter, in which case the phone company has to agree to having multiple devices share the same phone line, and we'll never be able to get them to agree to that. I've been asking for that since 1980.
No.
Why can't we have the same phone number and have two phones on it?
Craig, what I'm actually saying is that you're going to have a device that essentially communicates with Bluetooth via, I'm going to say it's Bluetooth, just for sake of discussion, because it's a technology that most of us can understand. That's going to be communicating with Bluetooth to your other device, to your user interface device. So your antenna is just going to be pretty much an antenna and not much more than that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. And that means that device you're communicating with is going to have the LTE radio in it, all of that.
So that's fine. My watch has an LTE radio in it. And that means that when I want to change carriers, I just need to get rid of this one tiny device, which is going to be relatively inexpensive, and swap it out for a different one that I'm now going to pair with the exact
okay, well,
same
if you
tablet
think you
that
can
I've
put the
used.
radio, if you think you can put the radio in the watch, then you're right. Then that would work.
I know you can put the radio in the watch. You know you can put the radio in the watch.
I don't know if you can get enough power to it and all that and do that yet. I don't know we're there yet.
I think we are.
You just bring up a good point on battery.
But yeah, if you could
between
do
the
that,
radio
that would
and
be
the battery.
fantastic. I mean, you're right. That would be your main unit. With whatever your main unit is, has to be the one communicating with the cell tower. Is the point?
Right. No, I
Because
agree. But what I'm saying is the main unit that communicates with the cell towers is something that could be next to invisible. I talk about putting it on your wrist. You can talk about doing it as a necklace. You can talk about doing it as a billfold that stays tucked into your pocket the entire time. Whatever the point is, it needs to be something that's ubiquitous, that's out of the way, that either has minimal or no display. Its sole purpose is to talk to your real user interface.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that would be nirvana. Yeah, I mean, if we could pull it off. But in the meantime, if we can't pull that off, my point is if you're going to go to a one device and one of those devices has to have a big screen because you're actually doing things on it, right? Then if they would put the cellular radio and all in that device, then Dan could carry the 7-inch tablet all the time. Because he's either in the car, right, or he's in a meeting, or he's somewhere where he can set it down near him, right? and then if he's connected with a headset, boom, he can do whatever he needs to do.
Okay, I'm going to show you guys something real quick. Let me green screen. I'm going to. Do you have a comment on this, Alan? Before we do that.
Well, yes, I've got a comment that's actually wrapping things up. It's from George Cozy, where he says, "Listening to all this, I can't help but think that not so long ago, communication meant yodeling and carrier pigeon." And I don't know. I see a lot of I see a lot of similarities between the modern smartphone and yodeling, to be honest. Anyway, I think we can move on from this point.
Okay, real quick test here. I'm going to show you guys the difference in the speaker. I've got the YouTube.
Honestly, Dan, I don't think that's really necessary because it is extremely well known that all of the Nexus devices have the worst speakers in history. They are horrible. It is well known. It is well understood. I don't think there is a single person in the cosmos that can defend the quality of a Nexus speaker. But if you'd like to demonstrate,
what the hell did I just do?
That's why he's going to show how much better the Samsung is.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it goes back to the yodeling discussion. To be
let me do it because I think some folks are curious if it just takes a second.
When other cell phones yodel, the Nexus 7 kind of hums to itself. I mean, all Nexus devices just kind of.
Let me see. How long does it take to load it on Wi-Fi? You think? Oh my God. Okay. Jesus, an ad. Why do I have to see my ads on my own show? Oh my God. This is and the screen. All right, this is. I'm going to hold it. Where's the speaker here?
From around the world on Google Plus and YouTube Live, it's Google Plus Week. Google set to announce its new line of Nexus devices this Monday. Apple finally announces the iPad Mini and new iPad.
And as soon as the ad's done.
No hope, no freedom, no pride in achievement. As a young boy, I fantasized about one day going to America, the American dream.
All right, so this is the Nexus 7.
Google Plus Week live. From around the world on Google Plus and YouTube Live, it's Google Plus Week.
Yes, we can tell.
Yeah, and I don't think I don't have a problem with this. I think the screen looks better, even though
Turn
it's
your
smaller.
mic around.
Now turn your mic around so we can hear you, and go to full screen on me because we have another question coming in.
Okay, if I can stop it. Oh my God, how much longer till it stops? Okay. Anyway, it's I don't think it's a compromise on the screen size. It looks great. Okay, go ahead, Alan.
We have this comment from Margie. Do people actually use the mobile browsers on their phone and tablets?
Of course.
Or are apps the most important part of a phone, tablet, phablet? Anthony.
Can I answer that?
Go for it.
I use the browser on my phone all the time, and I use the browser on my tablet even more so because it has ice cream sandwich, which means that it has Chrome. Unfortunately, my phone doesn't have Chrome, but if it did, I'd be... Yeah, absolutely. I use the browser, and especially when it has Chrome, I especially use the Chrome in Android. And yes, I would agree that apps are extremely important, but you're never going to replace... Well, I don't foresee in any foreseeable future the internet being entirely replaced.
This is related to something that we discussed last week, you might remember, where I pointed out that at the Apple product rollout, they said, everyone uses a tablet for browsing. You use a tablet for browsing. You browse on your tablet. They said it over and over and over again. And that was right after Google came out with their research results, which said, hey, the thing people do the most is play games and read and respond to email. And both of those are apps. So it's an interesting question, I think.
I'll make a real quick comment on this because I think that people that use iOS, I don't think they use the net as much. I think that the reason they showed that pie graph, of course, is because there's so many iPads out there, and just by sheer numbers, of course, they're going to do 90% of the browsing. But I think because the apps are so good on iOS, that most of us use apps. I use the browser occasionally, but my gosh, the apps are so fantastic. I mainly use them. Now on the Android side, I would guess that you would do more browsing because the apps are pretty much non-existent.
One good thing though, Craig,
well,
is
that's an interesting speculation there, Craig, since just this week we heard there was the exact same number of apps in the Play Store as in the iOS App Store. So that's an interesting comment of yours there.
Yeah, but they're not optimized for a tablet. That's the problem.
Well, the thing is, a lot of these apps have different ways of showing links. Some of them, like I've got, there's some apps, if you click on a link in your Twitter app or the Facebook app, it renders it in its own kind of little browser world, none of which are as good as using Google Chrome on the iOS device or the Safari app that comes on the iOS device. So I think I prefer the browser that comes on the smartphone as opposed to the quirky way each app takes you to a link that you click on within it.
I feel like apps are for doing specific things. Like you have a news app that you're going to see all your news on. You have, an app for a particular website, like a Wikipedia app. But for me, and I hope that this is the same for a lot of people, but maybe it's not. I'm the type of person that just seeks out the most random, off-topic information possible. I like seeking out new information. And it's very hard for an app that's designed to do one specific thing to be able to fulfill that need of mine. And it's even harder for one specific app to be trying to do a million different things very well. So you go to the browser and you go to, site A and site B and site C, because you're trying to gather all this different and very unique information together. Like today, I was trying to find pictures of an out of town electric company because I saw their trucks here because of the hurricane. Different electric companies were sending trucks here, and I was trying to identify what truck the company was part of, and I wouldn't be able to use an app to do that. I'd have to use, Google Images. So,
unless there was a big QR code on the side of the truck.
Not yet.
Right.
Okay, let's go to Alan, who's got a comment from somebody, right? Or were you? You're muted. There we go.
The next step towards phone technology and Google Glass, not some. Well, let me read that again.
Yeah, Alan, you're still muted.
The next step forward in phone technology is Google Glass, not some watch.
Indeed. I find, and Alan, you're still muted. I find that I will definitely prefer an app over browsing on my phone or my tablet. And I do almost all the stuff on my desktop is browsing. And when
Dan, does your tablet use Chrome?
Yeah, it's a bunch of different browsers.
Okay.
Whatever you want, you can get Chrome, you can get Firefox. You can't get Internet Explorer for Android.
I don't care
but that's
about
not
that.
a big loss.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So Alan, you want to hit? I guess this is just sort of a little thing here. ASUS reports some.
A little thing.
Yeah.
It's a 7-inch thing. ASUS
so
is reporting.
Size matters again, huh?
Yeah.
No.
That's right.
So this story is interesting. Basically, ASUS, as part of their earnings report for this quarter, kind of leaked out just how many of these Nexus 7s they're selling. And I probably should have brought this up to make sure I get the number. But they're saying that why can't I find it now? Right, they're selling almost 1 million Nexus 7s a month, and they were saying initially when they were selling about 500,000 a month, and that's been slowly increasing over time. And
I think this is.
Go ahead, Anthony.
I think that this is quite impressive, and as far as Android trying to penetrate the tablet market, that this is for Google an extremely good sign of things to come. If the
I think I agree with you. I think it's a great sign until you look at something like how many Kindle Fires are sold a month, and it's something like 3 million a month. So, in that light, you got to wonder.
I think it's still impressive. What about this this other question that I've seen in Twitter and all over the place? Why not a Nexus store or a Nexus kiosk? Like you go to Costco and you see the Verizon cubicle thing, or in the malls. What do you think, Alan?
My honest opinion of this, Google would screw it up. Don't get me wrong, Google has some awesome displays out there. We've seen them when they go to trade fairs. We've seen what they, how they dress up I/O. It would look really cool. They would screw up a retail store. There is not enough that's really out there that's available to be sold. They can't marshal the right people in the right way at the right time.
Now, they don't even have a display. I go to Walmart, and I'm sorry, Anthony, but you go to Walmart, and I see this display for the iPad. It looks like the Taj Mahal. It's gorgeous.
Google doesn't.
Why can't Google do that? Can't they hire some designer? Isn't there a designer somewhere out there they can get on Elance?
Oh yeah, so you want to get cut rate designers doing.
I'm
Google
being sarcastic.
Stuff now too.
I'm just saying, why don't we? There's no presence at all. It's TV commercials on YouTube.
I think it's interesting how you say that they don't have enough devices, and maybe even a week ago that may have been true, but now they have a flagship phone, which they've had for a while, and they have the relatively new Nexus 7 as a flagship device, and now they have the Samsung, the Nexus 10, which is going to be a flagship device. So really, they've, cornering all the segments of the mobile market with a phone, a small tablet, and a large tablet. So, they actually have more devices than Apple does as of this moment.
Well, but here's the thing. Apple fills up the rest of their store with their computer line. So, if Google wants to do that, they're going to put their one Chromebook out there as well. It's going to look pathetic.
Well, and I think what
Apple fills up the rest of the store with, software and all of the hardware that can go into it, and Google just couldn't do that. It would be as pathetic looking as a Microsoft store, and trust me, Microsoft stores look pretty pathetic.
Well, as far as having an entire store, I don't necessarily think that a Google store would be a great idea. Although you could make an argument that just Android phones would be able to fill up an entire store if just Verizon phones can fill up an entire store. But I don't think that that's what Dan is talking about. He's not talking about a store. He's talking about a display, like Apple has in Best Buy, is what he's talking about, I believe.
Or even, I keep hitting the wrong thing. I'm sorry. Even a kiosk, like you go to Costco, and they've got a little kiosk, or just like in the shopping mall, and it'll be Verizon. I think it's Verizon at Costco, or maybe it depends on the store. And there's like one or two people there, and they kind of smile at you as you walk past, hoping you'll stop and buy a phone. I don't see why they couldn't do that, or even just have a nice, pretty display built up that has the Nexus logo and the different, the phone, the 7-inch versions and the 10-inch, right in Walmart. I'm sure, I don't know if iPad pays for that or what the deal is. Alan, you got a comment from Kevin.
Got two comments here. The first is from Kevin. Google doesn't understand customer service or retail in any meaningful way. It's not in their DNA. So there he goes agreeing with me.
I think that's the truth.
And here's the agreement with Dan, with Kyle saying, I've been an iOS user since the launch of the iPhone, and the Nexus 7 was the first Android product I bought. It took me holding it at Office Depot, though, to convince me.
That's the thing. I almost want to go into Walmart and hand people my Nexus 7 and say, look at this thing. And,
I think, And just to wrap it up for the moment, here's George agreeing with me again, and then I'll turn it back to you, Anthony. I'm sorry I keep cutting you off there.
It's okay.
Google shouldn't have a brick store. In a store, you have to deal with people, and they can't build an algorithm for that.
If it's possible, though, they'll figure out how.
I think that it's the first comment would hit the nail on the head, but I think that at the same time, it's about time that Google figures out retail and customer service. I don't know. Maybe. If you look at...
Do you know how difficult that is, though?
No, I don't know.
Have any of you ever worked in that field? I used to work as a receptionist, and let me tell you, it's It's not something you build an algorithm. You
Well,
hire
But Monica,
people who
couldn't they
basically
partner
do
with
it
someone?
really
Don't you
well.
think? Don't you think they could partner with some outfit like he said, but even a display?
Yeah.
I mean, why don't like you've been to
If you
Walmart or
partner
whatever, and
with
you see the
people-
beautiful iPad display. It didn't have to be just a pretty logo and the things that I don't know why they're not doing this. Like the guy said that very
I
telling. He
wouldn't
said until I
recommend
held it in
partnering
my
with
hand.
Walmart,
The guy
but
said
yeah.
until I held it in my hand, I wasn't interested in the Nexus 7. And in Walmart, at least the Walmart I have, I always check. They started with 9, they got 7 now. And I check every time I'm in there, just curious, because I talk about this stuff. And it's just in the box. They got one on display. It's off. The iPad is beautiful. It looks like this wonderful displays going on with kids and flowers and like some beautiful TV commercial and a constant loop and the lighting. It's gorgeous.
Dan,
Broadway. And the Nexus 7 sitting in a box, and there's one that's off.
Staples. You go into Staples, you go into an Office Max, they got this nice, beautiful Kindle display. Right next to it is the Nook display for Barnes & Nobles. Neither Amazon nor Barnes & Nobles have any employees other than the Staples, Office Max, Office Depot people to demonstrate those things. Why can't Google have something as simple as that, have it look nice and attractive where somebody can come up and turn it on and have some, words up
Bruce,
there that talk about what it does? There's no excuse for them not doing that, regardless of their customer service experience.
I will tell you why. You will all remember when we interviewed Vic Gundotra, I asked him, what is this about the perception that people have? And his response was, I'm not interested in perception. I'm interested in making a quality product.
But that's just nice. In this context, they need to have what Bruce is saying, basic point of sale merchandising materials that are readily purchased.
Don't get me wrong. I agree with you. I agree with Bruce. I agree with everyone who thinks that they need to be doing better. The problem is Google just doesn't think that way.
I'm going to do it.
You can't.
I'm going to steal the logo. I'm going to make an illegal display and I'm going to put it into Walmart.
Dan, you can't just buy that. You can't. You've got to grow it. Apple grew it. Amazon grew it. You can't just buy it.
You call it.
Graft it on because
no, that's nonsense. I mean, if they can come up with these epic TV
you?
commercials, they could work with some company. Monica, I mean, there are many companies out there who could just simply design a nice, pretty display with logos and glass. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. And one thing, like I saw that this was a trend. Many companies basically were like eliminating, receptionist positions. And as they realized that this was not like a position that you could eliminate, like that is the face of the company, and like having someone greet people when they come in the door of an office, and basically that's the face of the company, and like that sort of experience you can't, eliminate. You basically need to have a positive experience, and you can't trade that away.
You know what? I think that I have a relatively unique perspective where I work for a company that retail is extremely important, but customer service is also extremely important. And I think that a lot of times you'll get, where retail is extremely important, but customer service isn't, or customer service is very important, but retail isn't. But I work for a company where they consider both extremely important. And I would agree with Monica. I don't know, but I don't think that retail is easy. It's not easy to build that kind of reputation in retail, but I would say that it's extremely easy to build customer service. The problem isn't building customer service, it's scaling it up. So you can create great customer service when you're dealing with a relatively small amount of customers, but the problem is scaling it up. Now, the company that I work with has done a very good job of scaling up customer service from a relatively small, a tiny company to a company with 80 stores up and down the East Coast.
Are you saying scaling up?
Yeah, scaring.
I thought you were saying scaring up. It's that Rochester accent.
And
Okay, sorry.
There's this trend lately where all these companies are doing this thing, like they think that technology will, they can cut positions and they can do this thing, like they can cut a position, save a salary, they can go to an automated telephone service, like they cut the receptionist position, they go to an automated telephone service where you call the company and you punch in a number to get the whatever position you want to reach. But so many people get frustrated with those systems, they lose customers and people hang up because they can't figure out the system. And like you cannot, like having that person-to-person interaction is invaluable in a company. And having like a valuable display when you go in and you see, like handing someone the smartphone or the tablet and saying, look at this, see how beautiful it is and how well it works.
I want to bring this full circle, and it goes full circle to one of our earliest comments, and that goes back, and that's the one about the new help page on Google+. It's the same scenario. It's the same thing that we're seeing all around, is that Google tends to find technological solutions to problems. So Monica, Google, this is very much Google's nature, is trying to find the technological solution to the problem, not the human solution to the problem. And Google Plus as a whole is trying to find a technological solution to a human problem, and more they're realizing that they've got a human issue here and they don't know how to deal with it, so they keep throwing things at it that just aren't working.
I just want to say one last thing, one last idea, and unfortunately, I think that Vic is an extremely smart person, but he's doing spin when he says that he doesn't care about perception. But the reality of the matter is that perception is extremely important, because when your customers believe that you're the best, then they believe you're the best. And when your customers believe that you're the best, your employees believe that you're the
Anthony,
best. When your employees believe that they're the best, they perform at a higher level because they believe they're the best, and they want
you guys
to
scale
stay
it.
the best.
You guys scale it, Anthony, at Wegmans. You guys are number one. I mean, the perception and the reality. I went to one in Gainesville, Virginia. It's the most incredible. I've lived in 30 countries. It's the most incredible grocery store out there, and you guys do it in every town. Show us that.
You bring up an excellent point, Dan, and I'll shut up right after this, Alan. I'll let you in. But you say how we bring it to the new locations. When we opened our very first store in Virginia, we flew, well, not we, Wegmans flew employees on a plane. They got everyone on a plane, and they flew
as opposed to flying them
Rochester.
via a hang glider.
Okay, whatever. But they spent the money to fly these employees down from Rochester to Virginia to instill the Wegmans Rochester tradition in the new market of Virginia. They wanted to make sure that the Rochester Wegmans tradition was the same tradition in Virginia as it was in all of the existing stores. And like Dan was saying, you have to be able to move it from one place to the next place, because I'm sorry, because if you lose it in the new location after that's going to probably lose it even more, and after that, you just get you fall.
This is actually related to where I was trying to go, I guess. What Vic said may have been spin, but it's also part of Google's culture. Google search and Google advertising are great, not because Google pushed out that they were great, not because Google was spinning it in some way, not because Google was worried about the perception of these. They are great because they made a great product.
And
then everyone said that they were great.
This is very true. Google is excellent at making great products. They're not excellent at convincing people that they make great products. And you can have the greatest product in the entire world, but if nobody believes it or nobody knows about it, they're not going to use it. Okay,
let's move, and let me go to Bruce here. Bruce, can you show us can you go to your that Nook display or something?
Oh, I've long since moved on that. It's neat. Do a search for Nook kiosk and do a search for Kindle kiosk.
Can you pull it
and
up?
Then do an image search.
Can you do another? Just get you back to it or whatever, or just to show. You see, you can. All they got to do. I mean, I don't know how much they're paying or how this works, but all they got to do is. There are companies that do this. You send them your logo and you send them the products, and they design a few different things.
So you want a generic, crappy display.
Yes, as opposed to
like
nothing. No, this is not generic and crappy. This is beautiful.
You go to kiosk.com and you can order a standard one or a custom one. I mean, good night.
This is not rocket science. Any moron can do this. There's no excuse for them not having a kick-ass display like this.
It's almost as if Google is so afraid of doing a failure in this area.
No, they
just refuse to do it.
There's not a failure. I mean, there's no potential for failure in having a display like this, except maybe it won't perform as well as you thought. But it's not that expensive. They could test it in a few stores and see what happens if it's worth it. But it just creates the perception. Most people are not even aware, unless you're a geek. I mean, you don't really know what the Nexus thing is. I don't know what that is. It's the thing from, whatever.
Well, I don't know about that. My mom knows what the Nexus is, and
now she does, but you know what I mean?
She is the opposite of a geek, and I didn't bring it up, so.
All right, let's you got another one there, Bruce? You're now I'm just totally spying on your
I mean,
screen.
if you just go, here I am on kiosk.com and look at the standard kiosk, and here they are, and then you can order a custom kiosk. I mean, of course, some of these are obviously not designed for but they have stuff that you can, do. I mean,
there you go, Dan. You could just go ahead and get one.
I'm gonna design something, and I'm gonna just illegally put their name on it, and just study it, and then I'm gonna do a big post as they haul me off to the pokey, saying, I did it. I violated copyright in Walmart.
As they bring you off to trademark prison.
Yeah, or just get volunteers to stand there and hold my Nexus 7 at an hour at a time. Okay, all right, moving right along, since we all agree on that one, that Google should open up a nationwide chain of Nexus stores. Just kidding. Okay, 136.46. 136. I'm trying to do my time codes as I go because I never do it otherwise. Okay, so Google Wallet, speaking of kiosks, they're big news. Walmart gave a big to NFC or NCR, National Cash Register, to do self-checkouts. But to do, I think, 10,000 of the self-checkouts in about 1,200 Walmarts, something like that. Those numbers are close. Anyway, and a couple weeks ago, the head of the vice president in charge of all this stuff at Walmart said that they were not going to go with NFC, and they're not interested in Google Wallet at this point in Walmarts. Of course, Walmart's a big retailer, so that's a big deal. So there was news came out, I guess today, that Google Wallet may introduce physical cards, like a credit card or debit card. I'm not sure, but the details are sketchy, or does someone know? Because I skimmed it because it kind of came out late when I was prepping. But I don't know if I would guess they would have to work with Visa or MasterCard or something, or both, right? Because these all tie back to a credit card of some kind. So they're
presumably, yeah. I mean, this is.
It says it would be a physical, reprogrammable Google Wallet card that would consolidate all of a user's physical payment cards into one. It'd be a regular swipeable credit card.
I think, without reading it too hard, I think the regular swipeable credit card part is total speculation because
Sounds like it.
I mean, the whole thing is total speculation, but beyond that, you have to remember that up until recently, they were putting NFC chips inside credit cards, and that MasterCard, when they first rolled out NFC cards, rolled them out as cards. This is not new or revolutionary or anything surprising. I don't know. I think this story is a lot of total speculation without having any understanding of, technology or reality or, anything.
So now not only has Google invented the help page, they've invented the credit card. The payment card, a small plastic card that lets you purchase goods and services. Okay, good for them. That's very exciting. All right, so
That's their problem.
now we're going to go to.
But do they have a patent on it? That's the real question.
I don't know. If Apple can patent Jean-Luc Picard's tablet, then they should be able to patent the credit card. Okay.
Yeah, I hate to beat this dead horse, but when you Google marketing department, look what the top search is. Management team. You click on it. Here's their issue. They got a management team, but they don't have a good marketing department.
You know, I mentioned this one a couple of weeks ago. We were in a Hangout with Dory, who is the community manager for Hangouts, and she mentioned that she was working on something with the marketing department, and everyone in the Hangout, essentially the universal response was, Google has a marketing department? And you know, we know that they must, because they've actually started producing some halfway decent commercials.
You guys are being really harsh tonight.
Oh, this is not. You want me to get harsh? I could get harsh.
That's what we do.
Nothing for me.
Okay,
Man.
so all right, let's do this.
I just want to say I was there at Halloween and it was awesome. I was blown away. So you have to stop being as harsh as you are. I was at Google.
Marketing department?
No, I was at Google.
Oh, you're at the Google. Oh, no, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's an awesome group of people. I've been inside their New York building. It is an awesome building that blows anything else in the cosmos away. Don't get me wrong. I love the people. I love the technology. And I'd probably even love the marketing department if I ever met them, if they exist. But I just have a hard time believing that they do.
I just think
I'm
it's
sure
unforgivable that there's no point of sale merchandising of any kind anywhere for any of these Nexus products, and I hope it's coming. Maybe they were waiting until they had a full lineup. Okay, so let's 41. Okay, let's talk about iOS gets Google search, right? And I guess I asked some of the panel folks to test this out. So
where's Srik? He's our reporter.
Did you try this? Yeah, I know Bruce. You were playing with it earlier. Let's start with Srik and just work down and tell us what you think, Srik, and then Alan, just direct traffic for a minute, please.
Right. You're talking about the Siri versus Google Voice Search comparison, right?
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the new the Google Voice whatever on iOS first? Tell us a little bit about it for those of us who are not so afflicted as to have an iOS device.
So Google had this late. I mean, I don't know when this came out. I came to know about this today when Dan told me, and I've been playing around with this for like half an hour, having fun with it. One thing I can tell you, it's lightning fast, and I test Siri as well as this one. Siri is like waiting forever for some time when I ask some questions. I think contextually, if you ask Google Voice a question, irrespective of my very South Indian accent, I think Google figures out what I'm trying to say better than how Siri figures it out. Another thing is, what I found interesting is, when I say something, Google tried to make sense of the entire sentence as a whole, as opposed to Siri, which tries to reproduce the exact words that come out of my mouth and put it in a sentence. So it's very interesting to see. I mean, I wish I could show you guys. Let's say I said something like, how far is Kentucky from LA or something? So Google picks up the words, what I said, and tries to, you can see the words go around and around a few times. Like it swipes the words a little bit and then finally come up with the search query. So some kind of intuitive processing happening. It's lightning quick. Directions wise, it is on the money. It quickly figures out what direction you're asking for. And I usually pick Kentucky for some reason. And then, of course, it doesn't have integration with the iOS Apple infamous maps. But it will lead you to the, so going back to what Alan asked, you can virtually ask any question to it, even mathematical problems. I was asking Avogadro's number and it came up with it.
So it sounds like it's a voice interface to Google search, basically.
Right, and then it's pretty smart. Yeah, I mean that is pretty much it. But considering, I know that Alan noted this as well. In terms of integration with other iOS apps, I would say Siri still beats Google Voice or Google Search, voice search by a mile.
I heard an interesting comment about that and about why. And part of the argument there is they're not allowed to do that integration because Apple will will block the product from being put in the App Store if they are. You're nodding. Go ahead.
Let me quickly stop you for that. Robert Scoble had a very interesting article about this. I'm pretty sure, Alan, I saw you comment about it. I saw you wrote a big post about it after that. It was all about context and how Apple does not allow third-party applications to interact or use Apple's.
Well, specifically, what it is it's slightly different than that article, and we can talk about that. Apple reserves the right to prevent any program that competes against a built-in Apple product or a built-in Apple program is not allowed to be on the App Store. So, for example, in theory, you can't have another music player. In theory, you can't have another browser, and in fact, Chrome really is just Safari with a different skin on it.
It is going to, I don't want to get into an antitrust or monopoly, blah, blah, blah discussion here. We have that enough in our...
Good, because I don't either.
Yes, so, but that's a very touchy, area which come and bite Apple later. But having said that, I was very impressed with the Google Voice Search, and I was like, wow, that's very cool. But in my opinion, Siri is very slow when compared to Google Voice, and that's on an iPhone 5, which has got a pretty good processor.
Okay.
And finally, but in terms of being able to open any native app, Siri works really, really well.
That's what. Real quick question, then we'll go to Michael or whoever else has Apple stuff and tried this. But is this when it initially came out? They talked about the speed. The first review, the guy was wanted the latest information on Hurricane Sandy when all hell was breaking loose, and he asked Siri and Google. Google had he showed the screenshots, and Google had, before he stopped talking, loaded where to go for the latest information from the official government at the top for safety stuff, and then it had like the latest Hurricane Sandy stuff below that. The news about Hurricane Sandy, which is what the guy wanted. Siri waited a while and eventually gave him the latest the score from the Hurricanes game. And but the big advantage, as you pointed out, that I've heard is that Siri can go right to the Apple apps that are relevant to your search. So, and the final question for you, Sriek, is the observation I heard was that Siri was like a fun, cool toy that you played with and then don't really use on a daily basis. It's fun. Where can I bury a dead body? There's a nice ravine over here. But Google is actually something that the person said they might use on a regular basis because it seems more relevant and helpful. And as Alan says, it knows everything you search for all the time. Is that accurate? What do you think?
No, I disagree. I didn't have Siri before I got this iPhone 5, and I really like Siri too. Especially, again, it goes back to my accent, but even then, Siri also surprisingly picks up my accent pretty well, and I was really, really surprised because a lot of interactive voice search or voice interactive applications, especially American-made, couldn't pick up my accent. Okay, so
does it get better over time? Has it gotten better? I mean, does it learn your accent?
I don't know about that because it's only new. I mean, it's very new to me. It's like just a month old or something. But are you asking whether I am getting better with my accent? Maybe. I don't know.
Let's hear from Bruce.
I just
want to add one thing. See, for example, if I really want to, open my calendar or check there are a lot of things you can do on an iPhone because a lot of native applications are there. Google is not going to cut it as long as they don't have that application integration, right? So in a lot of areas, unless you're just looking for information and looking for relevant information, Siri is better. But if you're looking for fast, you're on the go, you want to check something, what's the weather today, or I don't know, then I would say, the traditional search, which you don't want to really type it in, then Google Voice is much, much better.
Bruce, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, if I'm on my mobile phone, I always search by voice, especially if I'm driving, obviously. But it's so easy to do. Like I'm gonna just ask the Google Voice search a question. How far is Miami, Florida?
The drive from your location to Miami is 912.4 miles.
And you can do the funny stuff. Will you marry me?
Marriage is a huge decision. These results from the web might help.
Now that's using Google search?
That's using Google search, exactly.
Okay, I mentioned that only because we have this message from Kyle saying, how do I get to St. Louis, Missouri? Google shows me a map of St. Louis while Siri uses my current location and generates directions. That sounds like it's a little different than what you just gave an example of.
Well, I just asked how far. I didn't ask for directions. Let me change the question. What are the directions to Miami, Florida?
Miami is 15 hours and 3 minutes from your location by car. Here are your directions.
And there they are.
Huh, okay.
Can I try one?
Sure.
What is the answer to life, the universe, and everything?
I ask Google now that one all the time.
Can it hear me?
So I know how it answers.
Oh, you want to ask it on mine?
Yeah.
Well, you ask it.
Okay. Do it in 3, 2, 1.
What is the answer to life, the universe, and everything?
The answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42.
Oh.
Yes, and Google now does the same thing. So I kind of knew that, or I kind of suspected that it would.
How the hell did it come up with that number?
Because 42 is the answer to everything.
42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And if you don't know why, go do the search yourself and you'll find out.
All right.
We can't tell you.
It's something that you have to discover for yourself.
All right, so it's cool. It's innovative. It sounds like Siri is valuable in that it's very integrated with Apple. You can tell it to do things with your iPhone that Google Voice can't, but Google Voice has a speed advantage and knows everything you've ever done and can put all that together. They know if you're a scientist and you want the Raptors, then the Smithsonian Institute, or if you're a sports fan and you want the score from the game based on your previous searches. So it's good, more options. All right, so
hold on one second, Tam. How did I miss the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Thank you.
We'd like to know how you missed that, Sri.
Yeah.
But that's your problem, not ours.
Okay, so at 1:52:30, we're going to switch to Google Now has a built-in pedometer, and I saw this earlier. Someone, I don't know if it was
Michael. I know Michael posted
and we all
about
thought
it.
that it was.
As well.
Yeah, we thought that it wasn't new, but then TechMeme just picked it up. So I guess either they missed it or it is in fact new. But you want to tell us this is cool. This isn't a huge story, but this is cool. It knows when you're walking or running, and just sort of periodically, I guess, puts up the Google Now cards. And Alan, you want to explain what the Google Now is for folks who are not in the 15% now who have Jelly Bean?
15%?
I'm being optimistic.
3%.
Well, it's doubled since we first discussed it. 100% growth.
Yeah, in 3 months. What were we talking about? Oh,
pedometer. Is it pedometer or pedometer? How do you pronounce it?
Google Now tries to kind of go one step beyond where Siri is and kind of offer up information to you that it thinks will be relevant and contextual and important to you. And one of the things that is now showing up in a number of people's cards are these cards telling you how far you've walked in the past month or how far you've biked in the past month. And it's going to be interesting to see how this develops and what other similar cards it's going to be able to start telling you. Basically, Google Now is basing itself on what it learns about you just from your habits. And this is an aspect of how it's now revealing some of that information to you. So in the past, it's told me, for example, hey, I noticed every Saturday you tend to go to this location. Here's the weather at that location. And it's going to tell me Saturday morning. Now it also sounds like it's going to say, hey, I noticed that you're biking more, you're walking more, and it's giving you information about that.
Sri, go ahead.
Are you saying that it's going to learn my behavior on my iOS application?
Well, I don't know how much of Google Voice Search incorporates Google Now as part of it. Google Now is a big feature on the Android. I'm assuming not that much, simply because iOS can't support that type of action.
Sri, what it is, and Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, let's say, first of all, if it knows, like if every day, Alan, if you go to work on Main Street, then it will every morning, it'll figure that out, and it'll sort of give you when you first turn your thing on in the morning and you swipe it up to check the weather or whatever, it'll say directions to Main Street. It's going to take you 12 minutes. It'll, if you do a search, like Bruce just did a search, let's say he did this on his desktop, directions to Miami. There might be when he gets in his car and he turns his Android phone on, he might have a card there with, the directions of the weather in Miami or that sort of thing. So it sort of figures stuff out. It puts all the pieces together from your searches and your activity.
You got it exactly. I mean, the important thing is the important element of Google Now is that it learns your behavior. And then it tries to give you information that is relevant and important to you, or what it thinks is relevant and important to you. And you can ask for specific things as well. So for example, if you enjoy following particular sports teams, you can tell it that you want to follow these sports teams, and it'll provide you information when the team plays, when it scores, whatever. But it also is learning, and that's a crucial difference between it and other similar products from other vendors.
Any final thoughts on Google Now's new pedometer?
No, it'll be very, very popular in my town. Just because in my town people love to wear these sorts of things to find out how much they've exercised. In the rest of America, I don't know how well this will go over.
My question is, when will Google Now become self-aware?
What makes you think it isn't, Bruce?
My favorite comment on the previous topic, bringing the Google search, voice search, enhanced voice search to the iPhone.
This would be George's comment?
No, it was the article. It said Google brings its Star Trek computer to iOS.
Well,
it's apt.
You laugh about that, but for a while it was believed that the internal project behind this was called Project Majel, named after Majel Barrett, who was the voice of the computer in Star Trek.
I thought it was his.
Thank you. Yes,
it was Gene Roddenberry's girlfriend, right?
His wife.
His wife. Okay. Yes. That's right. The actress was his girlfriend. I always get those two confused.
Majel Barrett was also the actress.
Didn't he, the African American at the controls all the time? That was his wife.
No.
Oh, I thought that was his girlfriend.
No.
I think I'm creating a scandal that may or may not exist.
Gene Roddenberry's wife was the woman that plays Deanna Troy's mother, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I didn't know that.
She also played the voice of the computer.
Right.
Oh, the high maintenance mother of Deanna Troy.
Yes.
Was Gene Roddenberry's wife.
Why
he had
do
a
we
girlfriend.
have these discussions every couple of months where we need to renew Dan's geek credibility or something?
I got some cred. I got some game. But nothing like you guys.
Yeah,
okay, so Google News links to news sites, and they might have search criteria.
Shocking how it does that.
Sir?
Nothing. Keep going, Dan.
But they, France, Brazil, Germany, all have issues. Because Google is making money from ads when you're on the Google News site, and they want them to pay money to be able to link and store the content in search results. They don't put the whole article up. That you have to go to the site for that. But the whole article is in search. So you could search for a sentence or key term in anywhere in the article, and it's all archived. This gets back to sort of the whole Google Books thing. But anyway, France is threatening to pass laws to make them pay, and Google has threatened to cut off France from Google News, which I think they should do, because my thinking, and then I'll throw it to you guys, is there's very little money on any specific news site to be made from this. Google does make money, but it's sort of like an analogy I heard was it's like taxing the cab driver who brings you to buy something at a business, and because he made money bringing your customer to the business. And I think they should just go dark in France. Get rid of.
Dan, let's use that same analogy. Wouldn't it mean that the guy who has delivered your Note 2 to you shouldn't be charging any money, because they were the ones who after all, just all they did was bring you this product?
They get paid. UPS got paid to deliver it. And
you just agreed with me. Thank you.
No, I mean,
defense rests.
Do you think Google should have to pay a news site for directing 4 billion hits a month to French news sites?
That's not my question. You're the one who was just making the analogy, and I was just pointing out.
I hear you.
Analogy.
The thing is, it's not Google's responsibility to figure out how Le Monde can monetize their traffic. This is the reason that I don't because I have newspapers, and I don't break out all of our articles on the web, because there's no money to be made on the web. In traditional news advertising, especially for a small local site, there's just not enough hits. I mean, every 2 years I get a $100 check from the news sites, and so we put the whole package, because our money's in print and the whole package. So I just put the whole PDF up, and it's in a viewer, and they can read the whole newspaper online, no problem, and it's all searched in Google. But it's not convenient to just go to a specific article, because you don't make any money that way. And I got to pay these writers. There's no money in a click. Go ahead, Bruce.
You know what?
Or who's talking?
Bruce.
Anthony.
I think that these countries should enact laws that say that the newspapers can demand money from Google. And then I'd like to watch, most of these news sites waive that right, and because Google is not going to carry sites that require them to pay, and watch the ones that are not included lose traffic, and then come begging to Google to list them for free.
Didn't this happen with Twitter? Didn't they sort of open up their pipe again or something? Alan, do you remember? Because remember, they cut it off because Google wouldn't pay. If Google has to pay everyone it links to, it's out of business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so is most of these sites.
So
that
just means that Google has a bad business model, not that
I don't think so. I mean, they're doing okay.
And it would damage both businesses. Basically, it would damage the news business, and it would damage Google. So who's going to do that? Nobody.
They're forgetting that news is a commodity now. AFP puts stuff out. The Guardian, the Telegraph, everybody uses AFP. So the French will still find French news on Google. But now they'll be getting it from other European news sites as far as the big national stories. And it's just going to cut these French sites out. And they're going to come crawling back on their hands and knees, begging to be included again. I think this is a failure-oriented strategy for the French.
The perfect existing example is how News Corp, how Google was linking to News Corp websites, and News Corp said you can't do that anymore, and so Google stopped, and people were hitting the paywall for the Wall Street Journal now, and then News Corp realized that was a very silly financial decision, and now, if you go to the Wall Street Journal and click on a direct link, you're going to hit the paywall. But if you go to that same article through a link from Google, you're going to see the article and bypass the paywall. So the point is that these companies are going to lose money by refusing to let Google link to them for free.
Okay,
C'est la vie.
Very good, Monica. Since Dan has stepped away, let me cut to a couple of comments. George points out that in Google, the answer should be 43 because Google is +1 to everything, of course. And then this comment from Winston regarding our topic about the new Google Wallet. There's been a lot of additional speculation that this is more than just, a card showing up. This is also, in a lot of ways, that Google may be trying to badly imitate PayPal, so that you might be able to do things like deposit and withdraw money, that hopefully there will be easy ways to do transfers, that there will be, direct phone-to-phone transfer, which is interesting. I'll believe that part when I see it, and I say that because 15 years ago, maybe it was more like 13 years ago, I heard a lot of talk about how there was going to be a way for you to use your cell phone to transfer money from one friend to another, and it was going to be great. It was going to be revolutionary, and the company that was going to bring it to you was this brand new company called PayPal, and they never delivered on that promise.
You know what's interesting is I don't know if you're necessarily correct in your assumption, because obviously PayPal is an online company, primarily because they, you pay for things online. Whereas Google Wallet is trying to at least be an offline company where you use pay terminals.
Well,
now,
but here's the thing, Anthony. No, let me just cut you. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but two things. One, Google Wallet, as opposed to Google Wallet, is trying to be an online payment system, as opposed to the offline payment system as well. And PayPal for a very long time has had a PayPal, I think it was a prepaid debit card, basically. PayPal, remember, has a bank. Remember, PayPal has a bank behind it at this point. So they're trying to do the
my point would be that I would suspect that it's harder to get into the brick and mortar retail space. It's easier to get into the online space. So if Google can successfully get into physical stores, that it would be easier to get into the online space and do the transferring of money and such. Whereas PayPal is already in the online space, and they're trying to get, or have already been trying to get into physical spaces. And like I just showed you, I have the PayPal debit card, and I don't know how, if I'm a good use case scenario, but even though I have that card, I don't use it. So Google's trying to get into physical, and I'll tell you right now that if they successfully get into physical, that I would happily use them to transfer money online.
I would point out that it's not exactly like Google has this massive adoption of Google Wallet either.
Well, right, but I think that they probably at least have the system in place to have a larger adoption rate than PayPal does with this piece of plastic.
I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know. I don't think that they're leveraging somebody else's infrastructure, who's been there for a while and who wasn't able to pull it off. Now they're trying to get it into their phones, and there's a tiny penetration so far.
Well, right, and I think that a lot of that has to do with basically only Nexus devices and Samsung devices have the NFC chips in them. And of the Samsung devices that have the NFC chip in them, only a limited amount of them, because of Verizon, can actually use them without rooting the device. So I think as we move on and you have more Nexus devices and Samsung also pushing the NFC chips, that I think that we're at the very, very, very beginning of Google Wallet, and that the pace is going to steadily and very quickly increase. And that's just my prediction.
I hope so. I'll be honest. I hope so. I think the Google Wallet approach is the better approach to it, but I think they're facing intense competition from Square, and they're facing massive competition from what Apple is doing. And I don't know.
My argument as far as Square goes is people don't trust Square because a relative or complete stranger is swiping your card on their device. I know that I wouldn't trust someone because, I mean, I know what Square is, but for all I know, if a stranger hands me a Square device to swipe my card, they could just have a fake mock-up of the Square application and be stealing my credit card number. Beyond that, they could have a program running in the background where they have the legitimate Square application up and then have in the background a malicious program stealing my credit card number.
Except for the fact that people are more used to swiping a card and trusting that their credit card company will make good on any fraudulent payments than they are doing something strange and magical with their cell phone.
But people trust, and maybe I'm wrong, but I honestly believe that people trust the Google name. So if you're electronically doing something through the Google app, it's a lot more trustworthy than sliding your card across something where a program could be running in the background. Because if a program is running in the background with the Google app running, it can't do anything. It can't steal that data.
Anthony, people don't think about programs running in the background. They swipe their card. They think it's the same as how they always swipe their card. They don't see what the difference is. So there's that comfort level and that familiarity. And I think that may be misplaced in Square's case. But they're familiar with it, and they trust that because they've been doing it for decades.
Right, and I think that that's the place where the geeks like me and you have to inform our family members, and I think that that's always been our responsibility as far as technology goes, to inform our family members, and then our family members realize that that's the better way to handle the situations. If it wasn't that way, like Firefox or Chrome and all of these other browsers wouldn't become slowly start eating away at Internet Explorer's market share.
Okay, and of course there's risk everywhere. I mean, there's always stories about people putting those skimmers in regular grocery stores or gas stations. I think a big chain just got hit, multiple locations where people would install these things, and it gets your card information from the card, and then they get your PIN, and then they can reproduce a credit card, and they know your PIN, and they go rip you off. So nothing's perfect. Okay, so our final topic is Amazon. There was an interesting article about merchants who have left Amazon for whatever reason. They didn't like the terms or whatever. But Amazon leaves the product description and the product online. And I didn't like the headline of the story. The headline said something like, in fact, I'm going to actually pull it up so I can read it exactly because before I defame these guys here. It said how Amazon exploits small online retailers. And they told some stories about these folks who were there, but they left. And so the product is still there. And they're, in essence, competing against Amazon, even though because Amazon is massive SEO. And so it would say the product was there, but it's no longer available. But and they were saying that they should delete this from Amazon. My thinking is they shouldn't, because if you take the time to write a review about a product, a video review or a lengthy review, and most people when they do an Amazon review, they put some time into it. And if all of a sudden every time that product was discontinued or stopped being sold for whatever reason, they just deleted that and your effort was gone, that would discourage people. Another example is the political thing with the Avery binder. There was this really hysterical series of product reviews that went viral on the internet after Mitt Romney in the debate used the term binders of women. So people went to Amazon and they found this particular Avery binder, and they just wrote these hysterical things. And my favorite was, it's not as good as the trap her, keep her. So I'm giving it 4 stars instead of 5 or something like that. But this is really historical, political, it's history. And so should that, when Avery switches that product to a different product and it's no longer available, should all those reviews be wiped out? I don't think so.
I would say that the answer is no. And I'll give an example for why the answer is no for me. On Newegg just sells their own products. If they stop selling a product, that page for that product stays. And like you said, at least part of the reason is to keep the reviews. So if a company stops selling a product on Amazon, you don't even have to use the argument about, competitors or what have you. You can just say that, just like Newegg, they're keeping the page because that product at one time did exist, and
you may want to buy it used.
To it,
you may want to buy it used, right? And you might want to look at the reviews. B&H, Craig Shipp just rejoined us. Many times, Anthony, you might want to buy a used camera from someone or something. It's not currently for sale, but you want to go to B&H and look at the reviews. And it had 4 stars, and wow, it's a good deal. Or it had 1 star. Don't get it.
An additional argument is when I order something, I want to be able to click the link in my history of orders and be able to go back to that page. And if they start deleting pages from merchants that I've bought things from in the past, but that merchant isn't any longer a merchant with Amazon, I can't go to that page because it doesn't exist anymore. So, I mean, I could probably over, a day give you a list of 10 major reasons why Amazon should not be deleting these pages.
What if you were on Amazon and your product just sucks and you got a bunch of 1-star reviews, and then you could say, well, I'm not going to sell on Amazon anymore. I'm just going to have my own website where I can sucker people and my history gets deleted. I think it's I haven't heard Jeff Jarvis on this topic, but I imagine you would rail against it.
An additional argument that I would make, which I made in your post, and it's kind of stepping away from Amazon explicitly, but I feel like when you search for a business on Google, that they should list all the businesses that at that time were at that location. I mean, previously were at that location. And I guess that's just my mentality.
There's a workaround.
I like archive.org, and I like all these services where you can look at the past of how things were. I would love it, and I don't foresee this happening just because of bandwidth issues, but I would love it if every time that Google updated their Street View, that you would be able to go back in time and look at the old Street Views in the same way that you're able to, on Google Earth, go and look back at previous years of satellite images. This is me. I like being able to see the past.
Is archive.org archiving that? I know they're archiving a lot of the web. Are they archiving things like that?
Archive.org tries to, and I found, in my opinion, very successfully, because they have archives of my websites, which are, trivial to 99.99999% of the population. But I think that archive.org is very successfully archiving the history of the internet.
Do they do Street View?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know how they would, because
you're right.
JavaScript.
That's extremely valuable data, and I'm sure
a lot of the time they don't even do images. So
yeah,
I would doubt it.
I'd be very surprised if Google isn't keeping that. I mean, I think they're smart enough to know that that's going to be valuable information. When a building is torn down, a new one's built, or whatever. To keep.
Well, like I said, it is a massive amount of data to keep in storage if you're not displaying it publicly. So I wouldn't see why Google would be doing that. But
I'm going to switch the camera to me real quick
because the Wayback Machine is still going.
I'm going to invite. I got to.
Yeah, that's
add a couple people real quick. So I got the camera on me for just a second. But yeah, I think that is valuable. There are workarounds, of course. You could. I don't know how much it would be used, and it might confuse people. I don't know, but I hate limiting people over that. But I will say that it seems that you could certainly, just copy and paste that property in there, just like you would with real estate, for example, where you might, if you're looking to buy a house or something, you might Google it, or that's what I've done in the past. If I was trying to find a business that used to be there, but it's different now, I would just highlight the address, paste it in search, and then you'd find it. It's cumbersome.
TV.
I'd point out that Google does have old imagery that they do keep around sometimes, because they have shown how some of their imagery has changed over time. The most recent example is actually somewhat of a contrived one. They've shown some of the most recent satellite shots from the East Coast that are only a couple of days old, and compared that with some of their older satellite shots, and they're now offering
wait, but the satellite shots they don't own, do they? I don't think they own.
Some of them they do.
Some of them they do. They have
really?
a satellite or two up there.
Wow.
Yeah, the GOI.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I guarantee they keep everything. I guarantee the way Google is, I guarantee they keep all that Street View stuff.
I agree with Craig. I think it's incredibly likely that they keep all of their stuff. At the very least, in case somebody says, hey, your map is incorrect now, one of the tools that they could use is to go back and see, hey, wait a minute, why did we think it was like this before? So they can look at old satellite images, old Street Views, and say, okay, the reason why it's no longer correct is because it changed at some point in time, and they know when, and now they can legitimately understand why they're making.
And that's very possible. Although I find it very strange that they wouldn't, especially since they allow you to see old satellite images, that they wouldn't allow you to see old Street View images. I mean, it would be very easy to differentiate between the past and the current.
Yeah, but it might be a feature that was not important to them, so they don't provide public access to it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yet, and that's true. It's sort of very, very much the sort of thing that they might do in the future.
Here comes Jody. I was just on the Tech Webcast with Jody.
Yes, you are.
And they are a sharp group. I'll tell you what. Dan's not in his chair, so I can say this now. Dan could learn a lot from the Tech Webcast group. Here he's back now.
Yes, but could they run their show for 4 hours straight?
That's a good question.
Alan, I'm gonna do my Srik Menon impersonation in just a moment, but I have to get an accessory for my car to do it right. Why don't you introduce our two new guests real quick? Or is Brad here yet?
Brad isn't yet here, but
okay. Why don't you introduce our guests and get them to tell us a little about themselves?
I was about to leave, but I'm gonna wait to see this.
Yeah, you got to stay for this.
So Jody, this is your first time on Google Plus Week, is it not? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from?
I'm from Voorhees, New Jersey, which is the path of Hurricane Sandy went right through our neighborhood, and I have a company that's called WebMarcom, and we do internet marketing. So, what else do you want to know?
Well, how did you survive the storm? I see lights on in the background. Are you home now, or are you relocated?
No, I'm home. Fortunately, we didn't lose power. Other communities all around us, surrounding us, they lost power, but we were very fortunate. We were virtually unscathed, which is unusual. So we're very lucky.
I hear a lot of people, and I know I am one of them, who will talk about just how lucky they are coming out of this storm. Srik, it looks like you were trying to say something.
Right. Did you say Voorhees, New Jersey, next to the national park or something?
It's next to, I'm sorry?
Is there a park there? I mean, a national park? I'm not really sure. What's the place?
Voorhees. It's near Cherry Hill. It's between Atlantic City and Philadelphia.
Okay, I'm from Plainsboro, so just checking.
Okay.
This is like one of those, you're from New Jersey, you must know.
I know, right?
No, I mean, I've been to that place. I think there is, I don't know, there's a national park with a lake or something, I don't know. There's a picnic spot there, so maybe you don't know.
A picnic spot in New Jersey, what a concept.
No, it's a nice place.
Next thing you'll tell me, there are also refineries somewhere in New Jersey.
It's the Garden State, be kind.
Yeah, it's a beautiful state, right? It's beautiful.
We've got mountains, we've got the ocean. Wait, we used to have the ocean.
You still have the ocean, you just have more of it now.
Yeah, right.
Srik was so impressed when he came to my river town that we brought the river to him in New Jersey. Okay, I'm gonna do my Srik Menon impersonation.
Can't wait to see this.
Okay, here we go.
Keys. Don't tell me you bought some app.
White headphones.
What's that?
Obama is the devil. Obama is the devil.
Dan, there's one difference.
I mean, I'm sorry. Romney is the devil. That's what I meant. Romney, bad Romney.
You didn't get the accent right. You did.
You'd be surprised. It's pretty good.
Dan, there's one big difference between your impersonation of Sariq and his authentic, and that's that you don't have a cute kid bouncing around on your lap.
Absolutely.
Touche.
Not that we know of.
Well, I don't see it, so
They're not local.
Okay.
Okay,
They're,
so
they're in every port in every town, but they're not there local.
final
gotta go,
thoughts,
guys.
Sariq.
Hi, Sariq.
Menon,
I was
on
the
whatever you want to talk about. What was the most interesting, cool thing you saw or heard or read this week on or off Google Plus?
I was at home the whole week, so I had a lot of time on Google Plus. So there's too much stuff. I don't even remember anymore. But it was also a very stressful week. So can't say really anything. Today mostly I was just listening in. I was working on my other laptop sitting here, but I was mostly listening in. I missed Craig in between. Otherwise, he was mostly trolling, I think.
How can you miss Craig?
No, because I miss his trolling. He's completely trolling, this guy.
He's great.
Well,
That's what he does.
you've got a lot of house guests, right? You've got a lot of house guests with you,
Right.
right? And so he's a typical 1%er. He's got this mansion, with 15,000 square feet. 15,000 square feet, and he invited 5 families in to stay with him, which is great, very nice. I mean, but we should all have like 2 or 3 pools in the backyard, and a hot tub and an indoor pool and all that space.
And you
like
don't, Craig?
These 1%ers.
Not the tea party baggers. I'm gonna go. Good night.
So Jody, what was your favorite part of Google Plus this week?
I think the community coming together during the storm. There was a lot of stuff that was happening, a lot of information that was being shared, a lot of support that people showed for each other. I think that it showed the power of social media bridging the gap.
As I accidentally muted myself. What was there anything in specific from the storm coverage on Google Plus that you saw that stands out that you remember?
Well, one of the things I know, Craig had a show that they were covering what was kind of happening as it happened, but I think that there was also a Google map that was shared that had information about where power was out, where relief centers were being offered.
That map was excellent. That
Yeah.
really was.
But I think, if you sum it up, it really has to do with the sharing of information and people wanting to help each other. It really does show a sense of community.
Craig, how about you? How was your Google Plus week?
Well, it was another great week, and some fun shows on Google Plus. It's getting a little bit cold here, so I've been inside a little more, so I could spend a little more time on Google Plus. As you know, I don't really like some of the new features, but maybe I'll warm to them.
You're saying it's cold, but you're hoping you'll warm up. So
yeah, I'm hoping.
Google Plus on fire. Is that what you're saying? I'm
hoping. It would be a real warm, fuzzy thing if they would move the chat back over to the left side. But no, it's and I was very interested in seeing Dan's note too, and we did a hangout. He was, I don't know, you were not in an LTE area, or you were?
Initially I was not, but then I was. I remember I drove back
because the picture was fantastic.
When I was in the hangout with you and Sarah Hill, I was in the LTE area, and I wanted to. I got a quick question for you, Craig, before we go to Anthony. We were discussing these things. We had a conversation about your websites and how you're seeing a big increase in the amount of mobile traffic you're getting. One of the most exciting things is with these tablets and these hybrid tablet phones, just really massive phones, is that it's less necessary for a website to have a real souped up mobile version that, well, really is always a compromise. It's always doesn't have all the full features, because the bigger your screen, the less it's necessary. So that's one exciting thing that I see.
But I'll tell you what we're doing is we're using this mobile thing as an excuse to do what I've wanted to do all the time, all along, which is take out a lot of things that we don't need. Just go through and take a hard look at the websites, and because over the years we've kept adding things, and it's just gotten so cluttered, and it's just a mess.
So you need to do what Google's done.
So we
part company with things that aren't being used.
It's a problem I think that anybody has with a website that's been around a long time, is if you keep getting these ideas and, okay, can we add this, can we do this, and you end up with all this junk. That this is a good time for us to jettison all that and say, let's just simplify everything, let's make everything cleaner, let's just deliver the information that the people really want that are coming to the website. And we know what they want because we know where they're going on the website. Like a third of our traffic goes to our events calendar, so obviously that's important. And so look at those real important elements, focus on them 100%, deliver it to the mobile devices clean, deliver it to everybody else clean, and we're done.
We got this comment from Kyle. Dan's picture in the Hangout with Craig and Sarah Hill was the most convincing example of a mobile Hangout I've seen.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that thing, it was beautiful. And this is...
Can you pop that up, Craig, and share the screen? Because I don't know if I think I saw it.
I'll try. You all keep talking, and I'll find it.
While you're doing that, Dan, I want to ask you a question. Mm-hmm. You posted a message Monday night when you were without power. And first of all, when did you get power back, and what was your hurricane experience like? But you posted a message talking about how you had this almost spiritual connection with your Nexus 7 that night. Why don't you talk just a touch about that?
Yeah, it was... I was bored. I mean, obviously, because there was no power, and I was a little nervous and kind of scared about the trees falling down. And in the past, we've had storms because I'm in a rural area. My backyard literally ends at where a state park begins, and there's bears and all kinds of animals. So it's cool, but the power is always, it's the first to go out here and it's the last to get cut back on. So you always just sort of sit there bored. And I was just so impressed with the incredible battery length of the Nexus 7. I could charge it in my car. I could start my car up and charge it. But I was able to basically sit there and I read stuff, books or whatever, some Kindle books that I had on the Nexus 7. And it really was awesome. And then I was able to get internet connectivity by plugging my phone into my car, turning the mobile hotspot on, and then I could check into Google+. That's when I did it. And, I talked about it. Go ahead.
And I'll agree with you. Not this time, but in a previous power outage that I had my cable router plugged into a UPS, and I had my Nexus 7 with me, and I was able to use it for far longer than using my laptop would have been. But I was able to follow progress on the storm that I was in at the time, and follow and report that my power was out to my phone, to my power company. And it was just this night, it lasted throughout the night. And I had, I was streaming audio.
Can I ask you a question about that? How did you get your UPS unit to stop chirping? Mine always chirps if it doesn't have the AC power.
In this particular case, the UPS was on the other side of the house, so I didn't hear it.
Oh, so it was chirping, but it didn't bother you.
Well,
just
I had no
to
idea
explain,
because I wasn't there to hear it.
Okay.
Let's go to the picture because it's awkward to see my picture when you're talking. To be responsible in any way for anything you might say.
I had an opportunity. Daggone it.
Responsible for anything would be a small miracle. But.
So that is. Can you enlarge that? I know on a Windows machine it'd be Control+, but something just to blow it up just a little bit so we can see the thumbnails and the contrast. But yeah, that is pretty good from a phone.
I've
not
got
on
it as full
Wi-Fi.
screen as I can get it right now. I don't know what else to do to.
Now this is a picture that you have shared that Craig you're sharing in on Google Plus. So
Yeah,
people
it's in my
can
Google
look
Plus
at it?
stream. Yeah.
Okay.
So that is just he just hit print screen when I was talking in the Hangout from my note, and that's
Yeah.
from the front, the lower res camera.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does. It looks like a computer.
Very impressive. It was very impressive live. The only time you got really pixelated was when you were moving your arms pretty fast or something like that. But in a normal interview situation or a normal talking situation like we're in now, it was fantastic.
Yeah, that's really a big difference from anything. That's the best I've seen any mobile Hangout look.
Okay, so
so cool. Okay, so I guess we're at you, Alan, right?
well, no, Anthony. What was your
Anthony.
Google Plus week like, Anthony?
Well, I would agree with Jody about how the Google Plus community just came together about Hurricane Sandy, and I feel like I learned a lot more information than I would have otherwise, even with Facebook. And I mean, obviously on the news you see the massive amount of destruction, but I don't think that it quite translates across on the news as well as it did on Google Plus. And I always like to try and bring a Rochester connection to this part of the show for me. It's interesting because so much of Rochester lost power, but I'm in the unique position that Kodak actually did something good for once in the last 5 or 10 years. I live right next to the main business park, which means that my house is actually on Kodak's power grid. So everything is buried that's on Kodak's power grid. So even if RG&E, which is our local power utility, loses power, Kodak has more power than they even need. So this community, this area of Rochester always stays on night, as power.
So Kodak was basically powering Rochester, you're saying?
Well, not Rochester, just anything in the immediate vicinity of
anything
Kodak
that was on their grid.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
When you said you don't pay Kodak for power.
No, we pay RG&E for power, but Kodak, even when they were massive, and actually using all of their power, they just create so much power that they've always sent power back to RG&E. But yes, we pay
they've
RG&E
always put
for
power onto the grid.
Yeah, they've always put power onto the grid. But the most exciting thing, because the hurricane is not exciting, all the damage and all those deaths and injuries and what have you not. But the most exciting thing this week was the Nexus 4, which I am so excited to get on November 13th. And the moment that I can actually buy it and pre-order it, I'm very excited for that moment.
It's amazing for the price, isn't it? $300? You kidding me?
Exactly. When I looked at the price initially, I'm like, $299 on contract. That's not an excellent price on contract, but it's an extremely powerful phone. So $299 on contract is a fair price. But when I realized that that's not a 2-year agreement, that's actually buying the phone outright. And first of all, I like when I'm able to buy my phones outright, because I don't necessarily plan on switching to a new phone every 2 years. I'm still on my current phone after 29 months, so it's not always an issue, but having that ability to switch phones is extremely nice. And at $349 for the 16 gigabyte version, I'm just extremely excited for this phone. And especially, again, it's not on a 2-year contract, but also that I'm able to bring it to T-Mobile, Sprint, or AT&T because it's unlocked.
I don't know if you can bring it to
This
Sprint.
phone just has me so excited.
I don't think you can bring it to Sprint.
Well, I think you can, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to AT&T.
I don't think it's the right radio. I could be wrong, but I think was it CDMA versus GSM, or I forget. I don't know.
Where's that thumping noise coming from? Anybody hearing that but me?
I'm not sure.
No? Okay.
Let me go with final thoughts from Brad from Australia. What's going on, Brad? Are you there? Or are you just advertising? Craig, you gotta love this guy.
Oh, he's great. He's a dynamo.
He's peeing probably. Well, let's go to Jacob.
No, I'm here. Oh, okay. What's up?
What's up, Brad? See, this was a scam. You probably. I was like, he's not even there. He just put his billboard up. Brad,
No, I'm getting my mic, sorry.
what was the coolest thing? Right there. What was the coolest thing you saw or heard this week? Online
your new
or whatever.
phone.
Tech stuff.
Your new phone.
Oh, isn't it awesome? Phone.
It is very cool.
And you're an Apple fan, but even Craig is interested in this phone because really, the hardware wise, I think it's the best. Hardware wise, I haven't seen a comparison between the Note 2. Obviously, the screen's about an inch bigger, but as far as the processor speed or stuff like that, have we seen a comparison between the Nexus 4 and the Note 2?
No, I don't think so. No.
I'm guessing they're comparable. Of course, this one's much
the
more
Note 4
expensive.
has no 4G. Is that correct, Nat?
The Note, yes, it's 4G LTE, and the stylus, and 3100 battery, which is wow. And it charges fast, Craig. I took an hour nap and it went from 50% to full. So I was wrong, or that review when it said it took 8 hours to charge was incorrect.
Well, I think that they might have been talking about when it's hooked up to like a computer or something, because you've got a pretty powerful, charger that came with it.
Yeah, 2 amps, I guess is
two. Didn't you say it was 2.5, 2.5?
I can't remember. It's 2 or 2.5.
Even 2 is a lot. I mean, anywhere from 2 to 2.5 amps. That's a lot. That's a lot more than what the computer puts out.
What about the car when you're plugged in the
It depends on the unit that you buy. When you buy one for the car, look at how much the output is.
See, I've never even thought about that, Craig. This never dawned on me. I thought they were all the same. So that's an important tip.
No.
When you buy these, look at the amps. And
especially the cheaper ones are going to put out like 1 amp, some of them. I mean, they're going to be a lot less, or even 0.5 amps. So you really want to pay attention to that, especially if you have like an iPad or a tablet or something. I mean, they need as much juice as they can get.
Yeah, from 1 to 2. Of course, the faster you go, that impacts how long the charge will last, correct?
No. It doesn't hurt those lithium batteries at all. It's fine.
Because I heard that when, like the Tesla cars, that they don't recommend you use that rapid charge that they're going to set up, that national network of charging stations, that's not something you should use all the time. That's occasional when you're traveling, because that will shorten the life of your battery. But
yeah, you shouldn't have any problem with these. If you go up to 2 amps, 2.5 amps, you should be fine. Now, if you put 4 amps in, maybe you're right. But no, at the rates we're talking about, you're going to be fine.
Okay,
I've been doing it for years.
Okay, cool. And Jacob, any really cool stuff you want to throw our way? Or I guess you're playing Wii or something.
No.
You're watching Cam 4.
He's always multitasking.
Hey, okay. Dan, did you just do an Aussie voice when I came in?
Yeah.
Do it again.
I can't. I'm not good at it. Hey, mate.
Oi, mate.
I did do my fairly accurate, except I screwed up on the right guy, the politician's name, but I did a Siri impression earlier.
Yeah, I seen that. Was funny.
Brian, what was the coolest thing you saw on Google Plus this week? Like anything cool you've been reading about or that interests you, or something you want to give us a quick?
What that's been happening? Oh, I don't know. I guess your Samsung Galaxy Note 2.
See, this is the thing. It's really, I think this is where it's going. It's not going to go into, there's a place for a 10-inch tablet. There's a place for a 7-inch tablet. I think imagine if your Nexus 7 was a phone and 4G LTE, everything, but it was like a Nexus 5. That's kind of what I got.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Now, Dan, do you feel like you don't need it any bigger than that for everything you do?
It's a compromise, Craig. I see what you're saying. I mean, you could always flip it sideways. It's not like a computer at home. You know, I mean, I have a 32-inch monitor and a 20 whatever.
No, I'm talking about mobile. In mobile situations,
I love this. Is sort of for me so far. This is an incredibly perfect size. It's like it's to me. It's a little smaller than the Nexus 7.
Yeah.
But only an inch and a half smaller. But it fits in my pocket, and it's a phone, and it doesn't make me look like an idiot. This is not crazy. This would be crazy, right?
Oh yeah.
That's
Why would you
nuts.
use that for a phone?
Right. But this is awesome. It's almost the perfect. It's the perfect phone size for me. I don't know. In a year, maybe we'll see something better come out, or big, or some innovative thing. But it's perfect because you can stick it in your pocket, and you have a small tablet. You have a telephone. It's 4G. It's got great speakers. It's lightning fast. It's twice as fast. I did a demo earlier. It's twice as fast as the Nexus 7, which is lightning fast. It's got a 15-hour talk time on a charge. Sir?
Hey, Dan, you should go on the Nexus 7 and give it away to someone.
Maybe someone in Australia, for example.
Yeah, like me.
See, Dan,
oh, shut up, Brad. You had one and you returned it.
Dan, in the old days, when we carried the cell phones, we had the brick phone, you know, the Michael Douglas phone. And what we did was we always had the phone sitting nearby us. We're eating at a restaurant or whatever, it's just sitting on the table, right? We're in the car, it's just sitting on the car seat. It was always somewhere within, arm reach.
You like that.
And I think that's where we're headed back to, is we went through the stage where everybody wanted the phone as small as possible, right? Remember the flip phone came out and all, the whole idea was to get it as small as possible. Now we're getting back to where this phone is something we're using for a lot of things and so on, and we don't mind it being bigger. We don't mind it carrying it around with us and setting it places because of all the things that you can do with it. So I think that maybe even a little bit bigger, maybe even like a 6-inch. There's got to be the tipping point where
a 6 might work. Maybe see, this is a tall, skinny one, right? Because they wanted to be true 720p, right? So it's 720 by 16 by 9. Yeah. Great for watching a movie. And I swear to God, when you put them together, this screen looks better. But anytime you have a small, like, it's an S3 screen but bigger. So the pixels are the same. So if you hold the S3 next to it, the S3 will be more impressive, but this one's bigger. Just like a television, a 1080p television. If you have a 32-inch and a 52-inch TV right next to each other, clearly the 32-inch is going to have a prettier picture. But I'd much rather look at the 52-inch, even though the pixels are the same. It's bigger. So it
depends on how far you are away from the TV, really.
Exactly. If it's like this TV here, TV monitor, whatever, is 5 feet away from me, so 32 inches is fine. If it was twice the distance, it would have to be 85 inches to be the same effect. Okay, let me go. We got to close. I'm going to close with Alan, but Brad, real quick question. Because we missed you on this. What did you play with the new Google search on iOS? And
yeah, I did, mate. It's really nice. I like it. I'm going to use that more now than Siri because it's way cooler.
We hate hearing that. Let me tell you. I'm joking. I despise Apple, and you love Apple. So
yeah, I know that. I know. Yeah, I like Apple. They design some good stuff.
They do. Their products are good, and they're certainly better at point of sale marketing than Google is right now. So we'll see. But that's cool. Yeah. So I hope you'll do. Keep up on that. Your guest, I guess, Craig was there, and
Craig Ship was on, mate. Yeah, he came in to promote your show and Hangout 10 and stuff. It was quite fun.
Awesome. And folks can find you, I see, at techwebcast.info.
That's the one, mate. Go download it.
It's the #1 and longest running podcast from Australia, and
that's correct.
It's awesome. And I've been on it a couple times. It's awesome, yeah. And I
want to get Alan on as well. Alan, you can come on anytime you want to, mate.
Alan. I think he's scared of Australians. He's got like a personal...
Alan would rock. Alan has forgot more than most of us will ever know.
Well, now that you're segregating the audience.
We try to offend everyone equally. Okay, so Alan Furstenberg, my beloved, wonderful, awesome, respected, towering, heroic figure among co-hosts.
Dan, my beloved and admired person who actually runs this crazy thing every Friday night.
You run it when I'm peeing.
Well, yes, and
that's an honorable job. Go ahead, Alan. How was your Google Plus week? Please tell us whatever you want to say.
It was a good Google Plus week, but I'm actually going to close with a public service announcement for, I'm sorry, not for you Australians, but for those of us in the U.S. I am going to remind everyone that if you have not voted by now, which you can do in many states, that Election Day is this Tuesday, and you should get out and vote, not just for president, but there are probably quite a number of other local things showing up on your ballot. And in fact, there was a post by Jonathan, who I've put up on the screen. He points out that if you don't know where to vote, go to Google and say and type in the query, "Where do I vote?" and it will help you figure that out. So Election Day is Tuesday. Go out and vote.
Awesome. And
I live in Ohio, so we're going to probably be the one that actually chooses the next president of the United States.
So vote early and vote often.
What's your prediction, Brian, for Ohio?
I don't know. They're both rotten.
You got that right.
Do you like Herbert Hoover or Robin Hood? Which is which one are you?
You know, I do want to make the point though that there's more than just the president on the ballot.
Thank goodness.
Every state's got a bunch of other things you have to deal with.
Yeah, senator.
Go out, look at the issues, look at what's local to you, look at your local candidates, and make well-informed decisions.
And also, Alan, it's important. Try to find out about any ballot initiatives or referendum, that kind of thing, because often you get there and you discover there's this question on a state constitution change or some major thing,
right?
And you're like, my gosh, I don't know anything about this, and you make a snap decision, and then you might get home and get buyer's remorse. So these things matter. So, you know, whether they should issue a bond or that sort of thing, you really could just call your local registrar and say, where online can I find, or how can I get a complete sample ballot that tells you, and then you're like, wow, I didn't know anything about, you know, question 7 in Maryland, you know, like they're debating question 7.
And when in doubt, vote no.
Well,
when in doubt, vote no.
Craig, we got to go, but Craig, I'm shutting the official thing down. We keep the Hangout going for any of you guys who want to stay, but and we'll keep it on air as long as Google will allow us. And I don't know how much longer I have, about an hour probably. But Craig, quick question on this question 7 thing. In a nutshell, they want to build a casino, and they're saying all the money goes to education.
Great. Before we get into politics, Dan, can we wrap the show?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's wrap the show.
Thought he just did.
You can watch the Hangout version, which I'll link to in the official podcast if you're interested. But this was awesome. It was great. We got to meet some new people and see some old friends. But I want to thank all of you, thank the panel, and I want to wish everyone a wonderful, epic, most asbestos Google Plus week.